once fell off a ski lift. He was called in for questioning. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Impressive win for Perloff's Birds last night, taking down Miami. 2-score game. Miami's offense, not the revolutionary unit that we were kind of accustomed to seeing, and Miami not really able to beat a good team, a quote-unquote good team. Heading into Sunday, their 5 wins were against teams whose records were combined 5-24. Good morning, Perloff. You have to be feeling good today.
I do feel good, but how can you play Miami for any of that? They're on the road against the Eagles and their Kelly Green. I don't care if you had the 85 Bears. No one's winning in that game. That is
love
not
the
against
shade of uniform. Is definitely the key.
Oh, the Kelly Green. If they wore that, they would be 17-0. Miami was in a tough spot last night. They were down all over the field. When Waddle got hurt, I was like, oh boy, the Eagles are in a good spot. But that being said, there's a reason the Eagles are unbeatable in a situation like that.
The tush push.
It's 1st and 8. Basically, it's like they could just tush push down the field. I'm starting to think, what if they just run it on first down? It is really a cheat code in the NFL, and it's the key to their entire offense. Now it's very clear.
It was a critical down in the game where there was a 4th down call, and it was like a yard and a little bit. It was like a very long yard. Yeah. And at first, you thought they were running out the field goal the punt team, and then they called timeout.
Deep in their own territory. It was 28-yard line.
Call the timeout, and all of a sudden, here comes the tush push play, and it was a yard extra, and they still got it comfortably. They
Easily.
ended up running it again on that same drive, and that was kind of the drive that changed things in the game.
Yeah, they were 4 for 4 on the tush push last night. They had one where they got it easily, but the officials mistakenly called offsides on the Eagles. It was offsides on the Dolphins. Now, I saw there was a little bit yesterday. A bunch of teams are trying this.
Yes.
The officials are really on top of it offsides. The NFL wants to get rid of it. They think it's ugly. They think it's embarrassing. They think it's cheating.
Guys get hurt.
Guys could get hurt. I mean, the Giants getting hurt, like competent players are not going to get hurt.
I think someone on the Bears may have gotten hurt yesterday. Or the Raiders, pardon me.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Obviously the Eagles haven't gotten hurt. I think the NFL hates it and are trying to get rid of it, but they can't do anything. You saw last night, Nick Sirianni basically said to the official, I'm sorry, I know it's unstoppable. There's nothing you can do to stop this. And it is a reason that the Eagles fans are so excited right now. Like, this is enough to get them over the hump. I know that sounds so stupid, 4th and 1 play, but think about how critical short yardage is in the NFL, and they haven't mastered.
What's crazy about it is most teams, when you're a fan of them, and your team's going for it on 4th down, it's like nervous. You're nervous about it. Even if it's 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, you're very nervous about what's going to happen. Are my center and quarterback going to fumble the exchange? Is someone going to drop a ball? Whatever. There's no nervousness when it comes to the Eagles. It's taken all the drama off of these short yardage plays. It works all the time. And I guess now the question is, after what we saw yesterday, I know San Francisco is going to play tonight against the Vikings. They're favored in that game. But are we looking at a Super Bowl rematch here with the Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs? The Chiefs dominant again yesterday, beat the Chargers. That's nothing new. Those teams usually play a little closer, but the Chiefs look like a juggernaut in the AFC, and obviously the Eagles found a very dominant win last night.
Yeah, I think that game actually was a little closer. The Chargers were about to tie it, and they charged it away that 4th quarter. But right now, I think the rest of the NFL is waiting for an injury with Kansas City. That's your only chance. I think it is done. As long as Mahomes is on that field, Kansas City is so far ahead of the rest. I don't even think they need Kelsey. I think it's all Mahomes and that defense now. Best defense that they've had by a mile in the Mahomes era. So I think Kansas City has somehow made the distance even greater between them and the competition. So you need an injury. Otherwise, they're in. Now, the Eagles, I do think, are the favorite because San Francisco, look, there's no McCaffrey, there's no Debo. You go down and down. We've seen this so many times. The same story with them, and the Eagles have the tush push. So I feel pretty confident we're going to see Philly and Kansas City again, and I hope it's different than last year. I mean, listen, okay, maybe I'm counting my chickens before the eggs have hatched here, but
that's
I
okay.
do feel like
7.
right now.
Let's call your shot with the Super Bowl.
Well, I'm just thinking about
a little early. I don't know. I mean, maybe not so for the Chiefs, but if you're asking me if I would take Kansas City or the field in the AFC, or if I would take the Eagles or the field in the NFC, I'd have to take the field in both. First of all, for the Chiefs, yes, they look very good. Yesterday, they've looked good all season. The defense, it's like end of the season form for usually the Chiefs defense kind of comes on at the end of the season. But I'm looking at all those teams in the AFC North, like the Ravens winning convincingly yesterday. Look at it might not have been convincing, but the Browns actually have a great defense. The Steelers have a great defense. And who doesn't expect Cincinnati's defense to be there by the end of the season? So I can't just all of a sudden pencil in and say, oh, the Chiefs are back when they might have to face one of these really tough defenses in the playoffs.
In what universe is Kenny Pickett going into Kansas City?
I don't know.
And Matt Canada, offensive coordinator.
Well,
the number of things that would need to happen for the Steelers to win against Kansas City. Cleveland's even worse. Cleveland's offense is a disaster. Basically, if you keep Myles Garrett off the quarterback, you're going to beat Cleveland.
Well, there's a big reason for that. Deshaun Watson only threw the ball 5 times yesterday before he left the game.
Deshaun Watson is not scaring me right now. It doesn't seem like he can get his health straight. I don't see who's the biggest competition. I think it's going to come out of the AFC East, not the AFC North. Oh, the Ravens. The Ravens are good.
But you did see yesterday.
Yeah, but playoffs, show me in the playoffs. So Lamar has won the MVP and not won a playoff game in the same year. They still have something to prove to me. I feel like it's Kansas City if they get the number one. And listen, with Chris Jones playing, Chris Jones might be he might be the secret second MVP of that team. They're unbeaten since he got back.
Yep.
And they've looked unstoppable. Then Menahue yesterday, they have 4 or 5 Pro Bowlers on defense, and we think of them still as an offensive team.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. So you got convincing wins yesterday from the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC. You got a convincing win from the Eagles last night. Is this all shaping up to a rematch and a collision course for the Eagles and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl? Again, I think a little early for that. I would take both the field in both the NFC and the AFC. There is a question, though, about the Dolphins. I mean, I think the Eagles, we know who you are, right? We know who the Eagles are. Even though Jalen Hurts had 2 more turnovers last night, he continues to turn the ball over. There was a pick 6 that happened last night that led to one of the Dolphins' touchdowns, and it was almost like a karma pick 6 because the play before should have obviously been flagged because the Eagles defender got some of the face mask of the wide receiver, but they didn't call it. So Dolphins are forced to punt it away, and the next play, Jalen Hurts throws a pick 6. It was almost like the football gods were like, no, refs, you have to call a face mask. It was egregious miss by the officials.
Oh, totally. But, okay, there were 2 early turnovers. I mean, I think it was an MVP game from Hurts. I mean, there were so many times he slipped out of tackles, made huge plays. A.J. Brown has really taken the next step. He's
Do you remember the night that they traded for him on the draft? You and I were in Las Vegas, and you were like, how could they do this? You were so upset that the Eagles would trade for A.J. Brown and pay him because you thought that wide receiver was the new running back, and you could find any of them. I thought of that yesterday when I was watching A.J. Brown torch the Dolphins.
That being said, too, I think if Hurts is playing like that, like A.J. Brown is great, but honestly, like Hurts made 2 of those gigantic plays, and he was pretty, except for the 2 turnovers early, I mean, he was almost perfect last night, and he had to gut it out with the injury and had the key running first down. So
let's pause on the injury for a second, because this was a little strange. You didn't really hear much about it on the broadcast. So this was a little weird, and you could, I think, be forgiven if you were a little mystified about why coming back from halftime, all of a sudden Jalen Hurts is like wearing a brace on his knee and was a little bit late coming out of the tunnel to the point where Marcus Mariota was actually warming up and taking some practice throws. It wasn't really played up on the broadcast, and Hurts looked pretty good in the second half, so we have no idea how serious is this knee injury.
Well, you saw a couple things. In the first half, he was one-on-one on the edge with a linebacker, and he just sat on his butt. He's like a 4-year-old who was having a temper tantrum. He's like, I'm not going to run here. And then he had a 6-yard scramble, and he limped to the sideline. All of a sudden, my phone starts blowing up. All my friends are like, what the heck is going on? When did Jalen Hurts have a limp?
Yeah.
So then he came out with a knee brace. I still haven't seen a full explanation of what's going on. And actually, first thing I looked up this morning, you know what? He got it out, though. He did. He found a way to have like a 20-yard run that kept the drive alive. And he was so accurate the rest of the game. I think he only had a few incompletions. And the incompletions are mostly drops. He's been on fire. So I'm not worried about that. Kind of like Mahomes last year. He was hurt all playoffs, and he still tore everybody apart. Hurts did that last night. I mean, he was nearly perfect in the second half. So I'm not too worried about this. Should I be?
I have no idea. I have no idea if this is going to end up being a big deal because what's different about Mahomes' injury is it was at the end of the season where you're just like, got to focus, just got to get through these games, play the Super Bowl. This is week 7. We still have months and months of the season left.
Yeah, but I look at Joe Burrow, who was limping around in week 2, and by week 5, he's running 85 miles an hour. So maybe you could look at it as a positive. Oh, he has time to let this heal, whatever it is.
I mean, Hurts also got injured last year and missed some games. So
yeah, and it worked out.
Yeah, it ended up being fine.
I did last night. I was thinking about Marcus Mariota. I'm like, wow, I wish the Eagles had Gardner Minshew as their backup like last year because I do feel the Hurts is so physical, the tush push and everything. Like you are making yourself vulnerable to get your quarterback nicked up.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think this is a thing with mobile quarterbacks. I'm still pretty confident that they have a big system going here in Philly. They got a great run game now with DeAndre Swift. They have a great defense. Jalen Hurts has weapons everywhere. A.J. Brown helps him. So I don't think you need 100% Jalen Hurts. Man, am I half full right now? This is unbelievable.
I mean, you generally want your quarterback to be 100% or as close to it as possible. The fact that he's wearing a knee brace and it's week 7 might be cause for concern, but we have to wait and see on the actual diagnosis. On the flip side, though, for the Dolphins, what told the story to me for the Dolphins last night was not just injuries where they end up losing 3 offensive linemen. Basically, Teron Armstead, their left tackle, didn't even play. They end up losing Isaiah Wynn, who's not that good anyway, but they end up losing him. They were with a backup center last night as well. So you got injuries on one side. We already mentioned Jalen Waddle got banged up, but then 10 penalties. I mean, gee. To the flip side, the Eagles were basically playing this like almost flawless game from a penalty standpoint, and a couple of them were absolute crap. I mean, Christian Wilkins gets called for a roughing the passer. I kid you not, whenever they play flag football at the 2028 Olympics, like this wouldn't even get called in a flag football game, let alone an NFL game. He basically two-hand pushed Jalen Hurts. Boom, 15 yards. Total embarrassment. However,
is it sad to see the your co-host team dominate somebody and now you have to start complaining about a ref call?
No, I'm complaining on behalf of NFL fans everywhere. And listen, I don't think these calls would have saved the Dolphins. They were probably losing that game, but that was a terrible. That was an awful.
Yeah, we
call.
all know those roughing the bet. But on the flip side, can you imagine like if we had backup quarterbacks around the league? You saw Deshaun Watson's head bounce off the turf in a terrible way, and somehow we cleared concussion protocol. Like, would you rather go the other way and watch guys like Tyson Bagent going against Brian Hoyer every week? So I understand why they're
getting
protecting
that anyway.
Well, I mean, listen, they got to protect these guys. I understand erring towards the side of caution. That was a terrible call, I admit. But generally, the Dolphins were lining up offsides almost every play, and they had to call it. Like, you can't not call that. The other thing too is the Dolphins. I think they threw that game away. Like they have injuries. I'm sure they rested guys. They're like, well, we're on the road. It's out of conference. We're not going to put all our resources into this game because Jalen Ramsey's coming back. That's going to be a huge addition.
Howard.
And Waddle will get healthier. This is not a fully formed Dolphins team. So I'm not super worried about them. I actually come away and say, well, listen, if Tua's healthy, they're a very, very good offense. I think their defense is going to get better. And Jalen Phillips came back. You saw what a difference he makes. There are reasons to be optimistic about the Dolphins. This is not a bad loss in my mind at all.
Yeah, but when your 5 wins are coming against teams that don't have winning records, I think it's fair to say, okay, how are you when the competition gets stiffer? You know, I will talk about the Bills at some point, but I mean, they lost to the Bills and got blown out. They lost to the Eagles last night by 2 scores. Could have been more, by the way. And Nick Sirianni called off the Dogs. They could have easily scored again if they wanted to.
At the very end, yeah.
At the very end, and it would have looked even worse. I mean, there is something about, are you getting fat and high on the hog on bad teams? And what happens when you actually play good teams with good defenses that are representative of what you might see in the playoffs, and the Dolphins have not been impressive.
Yeah, but injuries were key. By the way, a key play was when David Long Jr., who was killing the Eagles, their new linebacker, ran into his own teammate and he was not the same the rest of the game.
They basically ran into each other
that was pretty scary.
Like Mo, Larry, and Curly kind of, and knocked heads.
Yeah, and then Waddle went out. The offense changed completely because you need Waddle and Hill working as a complement. Otherwise, you just put 3 guys on Tyreek Hill, which is sometimes enough, by the way. The reason the Eagles didn't have penalties is because they couldn't get close enough to Tyreek Hill to actually pass interfere with him. He just ran right past him. He is amazing. Yeah, I think I'm a little higher on the Dolphins than you are because they're bringing back all these defensive players, so their defense will be much better. And Hill is just a cheat code.
No,
so
he's incredible.
And A-Chan will come back. I think the Dolphins are an interesting team.
They had 44 yards rushing last night. They've been averaging 144 yards rushing basically through their 5 wins. Funny moment with Tyreek Hill. You know how sometimes he's running so fast, his legs are moving so fast, you almost can't understand how they're still attached to his body.
Yeah.
Like it looks like it's like a
cartoon.
blur. Yeah, like a cartoon.
The Tasmanian Devil and Bugs Bunny.
He catches a ball he has the ball as he's about to turn and look to see whether or not he's about to get jacked up by the safety. His knee hits the ball out of his own hands because his legs are going so fast that he caused a fumble on his own because his legs were going too fast.
That was a huge play.
It was a huge play. And if he had just been running a little slower, he probably would have had a touchdown, ironically.
Well, I think the safety was going to jack him up, too. Yeah, he's hard to deal with. As a Bills fan, you must look at that guy and be like, oh, man, he I don't know how's he done in the past. Chiefs, when he was with the Chiefs, he did well against the Bills, right?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
No, that was an honest question. I don't study Tyreek Hill's game log.
Yeah, do you remember famously when he's running for the game-winning score of the 13 seconds games and throws up the deuces behind him?
Oh, that was against the Bills. Right.
Thank you.
Opening up old wounds here at 6:16 in the morning.
How about that touchdown last night when the safety was supposed to be the deep help
For who?
On Tyreek Hill? The Dolphins really won offensive touchdown. They were at the 27-yard line, and the safety was supposed to be the deep help on him, and he tried to be. Tyreek Hill outran him by 15 yards, and he only had 30 yards to work with, and he was so far past him. He is unique. Honestly, you have to stay behind Tyreek Hill. Let him in front of you, right?
And it becomes a lot easier when you basically shut down the run game.
Yeah.
Because you know that you don't have to worry. You can, the safeties can do whatever they want to do because they don't have to help out on the run because your line is so good.
Week 1, the Chargers win that game if their safeties play deeper, but they're so poorly coached, the Chargers, that they let Tyreek Hill run by them too many times in key moments. I don't know how we got here. It all comes down to that 13-second game, it feels like.
Yeah, thank you.
It all comes back to the Bills.
I do love when it comes to the tush push, which we know is this cheat code for the Eagles. Last night, there was like a sneaky moment. Mike Tirico will never be critical, right? I mean, pretty even guy. He's not a hot taker.
He's the opposite of Gus Johnson.
He said, all right, and here we go for another BS play. The brotherly shove. And I was like, ooh, Tirico. That's basically Tirico hitting like the nuclear,
Yeah. It was, by the way.
I'm getting frisky right there.
I know. That's him just like, are you picking up what I'm putting down?
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Were you guys confused watching Penn State, Ohio State, not knowing what team Gus Johnson was rooting for? Like when he plays Colorado, a neutral Gus Johnson was so strange. I was like, wait, who's he cheering for? But then it turned out it was all about Marvin Harrison Jr., so he became an Ohio State fan halfway through the game. Sorry, he's the opposite of Tirico.
I'm pretty sure he coined Maserati Marv, right?
But I was wondering that. I mean, first of all, if someone said Maserati Marv referring to Marvin Harrison Jr., if you did a drinking game for every time he said it, you would be dead by the third quarter.
Definitely in a coma, at the very least.
Wait,
with your friends and family thinking about whether or not to pull the plug.
So he said it in like the third play of the game. I assumed it was an existing nickname. Was that a Gus Johnson original?
I have no idea. But the way he says it, Maserati Marv. It's infectious.
It took over the game. Infectious in the way, like if I ever hear it again, I'm going to have to go to the doctor because my ears are going to bleed.
No, in the fact that I want to keep saying it.
Oh, yeah. Trust me, America's with me on this one. They were so sick of it. He was getting destroyed all game. It's like, Gus, we get it. It's like a 6-yard catch.
Listen, he didn't have that many offensive highlights to work with. You got to give true. Gus a little. He needs to be in like a 42-41 game, not the offensive slop that we saw Ohio State, Penn State.
As much as I love Marvin Harrison, and I actually really like Gus Johnson a lot, I do feel like Maserati Marv is not the greatest nickname for Harrison. I mean, to me, like someone like Tyreek Hill is like a Maserati. Yeah. Like, I don't know what I call Harrison. I mean, he's tall, he's strong. Like, to me, I'm thinking Maserati, I'm thinking small, fast, and get in and out of places. Like, that's not what I think of when I think of Marvin Harrison's game.
Tyreek Hill could be a Maserati. Exactly. I totally see what you're saying.
Well, I'm wondering if it was tied into like an NIL deal. Is there a Maserati dealership in Columbus, Ohio?
You better have one now.
Remember Bijan Robinson had like a Lamborghini or something. when he was at Texas.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was all just setting up for Marvin Harrison Jr. to get a really fancy car.
What was the car that Shador drives?
The Maybach.
He drives a Maybach.
I think so. Or some kind of phantom Rolls Royce. I have no idea.
And and Shador needs to go to the NFL to get money. He's already driving a Maybach.
Listen, I think you might have to return it, though.
Oh, is he leasing?
If it's NIL, I think you're leasing. Anyway, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. I think the question off of this, are we headed towards a Super Bowl rematch? Does it look like it's Eagles and Chiefs? I still think the 49ers have something to say about this. I still think the AFC North has something to say about this, so I would take the field. Perloff likes where this is going, though, for the Chiefs and the Eagles. Also, cause for concern with the Dolphins. 2 losses against good teams, 5 wins against bad teams. 855-212-4CBS. It's Maggie and Perloff. We say good morning to the weirdos and coffee drinkers in the chat. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio. Come on in and watch the show. We're gorgeous. We're back in minutes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Andrew Perloff Skyline Chili Bet Payoff. Number 10.
With the cheese, he is very delicately breaking the film.
Number 9.
Dive. There is juice cascading off his nose.
It's good.
Number 8.
All the way in. Oh, we have spaghetti. He has found the pasta.
Number 7.
Another big bite. Oh, that's a lot of pasta.
You're really getting in there.
Number 6.
Why I didn't.
There
we go.
Slurping sound.
Good slurping.
Number 5.
Oh,
Number 4.
Oh, my God.
that was a full open mouth tongue scoop of pasta. This
Number
is
3.
friendship. Oh, it's like he's a 4-year
Number
tongue
2.
kissing a bowl of chili anymore. Oh, our first rip of pasta.
And the number 1 moment from Andrew Perloff Skyline
Now we're
Chili
making
Bet Payoff.
noises as we gobble up. Oh, now it's over.
1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. I have an exciting surprise for all of you later in the show.
What's that? You
We
got
got-
breakfast?
Nope. We got a gift from our friend Sully, great friend of the show. Mailed me something over the weekend that I think everybody here is going to enjoy, and I'm going to unveil it in the 9 o'clock hour. This is a surprise to everybody.
Wow. Okay, so Sully lives in Las Vegas,
Yeah.
but he's originally from Boston.
That might be a hint. It might not. It is a show gift that we're going to hang in the studio, and it's going to be exciting for everyone.
If it's a Mac Jones jersey, I'm pulling it down.
I don't even think, do they print Mac Jones jerseys? Has anyone ever bought a Mac Jones jersey?
They might after yesterday.
But, speaking of Philly, which we're not,
Yeah,
it was a big college football win for Philadelphia this weekend. Basically, Philadelphia natives Kyle McCord and Marvin Harrison beat Pittsburgh's Penn State Nittany Lions.
Yeah, Perloff doesn't want to claim Penn State. He's been saying that Penn State is Philadelphia's college team, which turns out to be not true, according to our boss, who's also from Philadelphia. But now that they lost to Ohio State, you're like, it's actually more of a Pittsburgh thing.
Yeah. Basically, I was a Penn State fan until they refused to move the ball on Saturday.
Oh my
now
God.
I'm all about my guy, Maserati Marv.
Meanwhile, you know your computers are listening to you because I have my laptop up in the studio, and I now have a targeted ad in a box score for a Maserati. And I'm not buying a Maserati at all.
Did you Google Marvin Harrison?
I did not. I didn't do any of that.
Okay. This game was not a blowout. It was 3-3, and Penn State had a fumble 6 and would have made it 10-3, and they called a ticky-tack hold. If Penn State had been up 10-3, they would not have had to drop back a million times, and I think that game could have gone completely differently. You guys think it was not even close?
I didn't think so. That was a big play, of course, but I mean, Drew Aller is 18 for 42. It's not like they were down by 3 scores and had to start throwing the ball to get back into the game.
But they could have established a run if they had the lead, because Ohio State was just as bad on offense for most of the game. Basically, if Marvin Harrison didn't catch the ball, then they got nowhere. They couldn't run the ball. I think Penn State could have at least made it a very different game because they wouldn't have had to drop back Aller all the time because they were trailing. That was a huge play because Ohio State comes down and scores. I think that game could have gone differently because Penn State was not good, but their defense was great.
No, the defense is great, but they were trailing 10-6. Like there was no reason why you felt like you'd abandon the run. The reason why they couldn't run the ball is because Ohio State's defense is amazing. Pete, I think this constitutes things that we got wrong.
Even we can't be right all the time.
Samsonite. I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Time for Maggie and Perloff to own up.
I thought that Penn State was going to be thought of still in that high tier with Ohio State and Michigan, and this was a chance for them to make a real statement on a big stage. And the offense, which has been maligned and been criticized for how they have a lack of explosive plays, it caught up to them because this game was so frustrating to watch on offense. And it feels like the Penn State coaches are not doing Drew Aller they're doing him a major disservice by how predictable their offense is.
I totally agree with that. The play calling is terrible. The line with their vaunted left tackle did not hold up at all against Ohio State. Ohio State's good. Here's the thing. I disagree with you. The final score was 20-12, and you know how the College Football Playoff Committee works. That's fine. Like they were in Columbus, They came out of that game like, okay, if Penn State beats Michigan, it's back on. I mean, that's a huge
What on earth would make you think that Penn State's going to beat Michigan?
Because it's college football, and you never, ever know what's going to happen. That's exactly why, the game's in Michigan.
Yeah.
Of course, Michigan is going to be a heavy favorite, but listen, Penn State, I don't know how Penn State would pull out that win, but they have a lot of athletes on defense. Like, I was watching that defense against Ohio State. That's an elite defense. The offense has not caught up at all.
And they meant that Chop Robinson ended up leaving the game, right? But here's the thing. They're not going to have a prayer against Michigan, unfortunately, and the damage is already done. Whatever pre-scouting Michigan did against Penn State, I mean, I guess you could change all of your signals and change all of your stuff, but they've already got the goods. It's too late.
Wait. You're saying Penn State can't change their plays against Michigan?
I'm sure they could, but I think that who knows how many former military people are on that staff. They could have even the change to the change.
Yeah, I do think, by the way, Michigan, they look unbeatable right now. But Michigan will lose a game that they shouldn't. They are famous for that. This is a program. They're not Georgia right now. Michigan will be vulnerable. I'm just telling you right now, I don't think Penn State can do it, but I don't think Michigan is beyond disappointing their fans. We know that.
No, but I think Penn State has disappointed their fans quite a bit. This is just another loss where James Franklin, had a moment to change the narrative. They're 3-16 against teams that are ranked in the top 10. I don't know. I'm starting to wonder if this has a negative impact on recruiting for Penn State moving forward. You got new teams who are going to be coming into the Big Ten. Are you going to be recruiting? And Penn State's always recruited very well. But now you're going to be recruiting against also not just Ohio State and Michigan, but also against Oregon, against Washington, against USC, against UCLA. You have other big-time programs who are going to be in the Big Ten. If I'm playing offense, I don't want to go to Penn State now.
Maybe so, but Penn State's, they're probably going to be 10-2 again this year. That's not nothing, and he was recruiting at the highest level possible when they weren't 10-2 every year. This is not a bad run for James Franklin. Yes, they're not winning the titles, but 10-2 is nothing to sneeze at. This is Penn State. I mean, they get everybody in there. They had Justin Fields signed up. I mean, Justin Fields out of Georgia. I would not bet against James Franklin on the recruiting trail. The guy's magic. And Oregon, how can Oregon and Penn State, they couldn't be farther apart. Are they going to be looking at the same guys?
I don't know. What's more appealing? At this point, too, you go wherever. I don't think the regional stuff, I don't know if that holds up in this era of NIL.
I don't know. If you're in Ohio, I think you're much more comfortable going to Penn State than Oregon.
I know one thing. James Franklin owes that reporter an apology. Yeah. You asked about whether or not you should just throw the ball down the field, because that reporter's strategy would have been much better than whatever the hell they drew up against Ohio State.
Strong no.
Yeah, what was making us cringe more, that question or actually having to watch Penn State's offense?
Then Aller finally threw a 50-yard 50-50, but he threw one of those passes where he just blindly chucked it up in the air. And it was actually one of the better Penn State plays, even though it didn't work.
So, big one that we got wrong. Let's say good morning to Andrew Bogusch, who's here with some headlines.
Good morning, everybody. Those headlines are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs for protection on the road and on the water. See how much you could save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and progressive.com.
You're making me uncomfortable. I don't know what you're talking about.
This was a pretty good way to say stop hitting me in the ribs with fastballs.
1 strike. The pitch. Adoli swings and hits a high drive to deep left field. That ball is way back, and that ball is history. Adolis Garcia clears him off with a grand slam after 4 consecutive strikeouts, as Adolis has broken this ball game wide open. It's 9-2.
That's Eric Nadel on Rangers Radio. Garcia topping off a 9-2 win in Game 6 in Houston after being at the center of that near brawl on Friday. So we get a Game 7 tonight in Houston, and Texas second baseman Marcus Semien is super pumped.
We had our backs against the wall tonight. We should keep the same mentality.
It'll be Christian Javier and Max Scherzer on the mound this evening. Javier throws the first pitch shortly after 7 Central. Away.
Ha 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 ha.
Thank you.
Ha ha. I can't. Not ha ha. A little ha ha. What do you think's going to happen to Max Scherzer tonight? What do you really think's going to happen? It's been the exact same thing that he's been doing in the postseason. He's just not the same guy. Starting him into Game 7, I don't understand why Texas would do this, but they're going to have the bullpen ready to go. Also, can we just quickly go around the room, not to go back to old stuff, but Friday night? Do you really think that Brian Abreu was really trying to hit him on purpose with 2 on in a game. What was it? Game
It was
5?
game 5. They were down 2, and he put the second man on base with nobody out by hitting him. If he did it on purpose, it's almost grounds to be released immediately for being that dumb.
He'd be the dumbest professional baseball player of all time if he was trying to settle a score from because he pimped a home run against Verlander or something that happened in July.
And Major League Baseball thought he did. He got suspended for 2 games.
That's it. He's gone for the season, for the rest of the series, rather.
Garcia got nothing.
Right, for being a dope after the fact. This is what he should have done. Walk to first base, stomping his feet, and then hit a home run next time up. That's what he did last night. It was a mess. Umpires are the worst.
And Garcia, imagine in that game if they would have thrown him out, or they did throw him out in that game.
They did throw him out.
Yeah, they threw him out in that game.
They just didn't suspend him.
Yeah, what if that game goes into extra innings? I mean, Altuve made sure that didn't have to happen, but that game goes in extra innings, and now you don't have your biggest bat in the lineup. I mean, and they lose that game because maybe he's not in. That would have been just one of the worst ejections
and his
maybe in
spot,
the history of Major League Baseball.
He would have been on deck in the 9th inning for the last out. The guy before him made the last out with men on base. The same argument of why Abreu shouldn't have or couldn't have been throwing at him should have been applied to Garcia, telling him to not react like that. I know it sucks. I know you're angry, but you have to just go to first base in that spot. You can't go face-to-face with the catcher and get thrown out of Game 5 of the ALCS.
This is so much worse for the Astros. It's so much worse to lose Abreu for the rest of the series. Like, please, umpires, don't turn me into an Astros fan. Like, this year, making them sympathetic. How could that possibly be? I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Away from the playoffs, the Padres are letting the Giants interview Bob Melvin for their manager's job. So the assumption is Melvin will go to San Francisco. Former Cardinal skipper, current Padre coach Mike Shildt among the favorites to get that San Diego job once it is open. Here's one of the reasons the Broncos are so bad. They had lost 10 in a row when leading at halftime, but not yesterday against the Packers. They did go from a 16-3 lead to a 17-16 hole, but then Will Lutz hit a 52-yard field goal. Then P.J. Locke picked off Jordan Love, and then they won 19-16. Sean Payton was asked about breaking that odd losing streak post-game.
It wasn't our hump. I'm saying that respectfully. It wasn't our hump.
It wasn't our hump, as in I was only here for a couple of the second half collapses, not all 10, so don't ask me about it.
That's what the hump means here?
Yeah.
They have to get over?
Yeah.
Huh.
Odd
use of the word hump.
Yeah.
Agreed. And he had referenced when I was in New Orleans, they hadn't won a road playoff game in however many years, and we kept getting asked about it, and that wasn't us. He's been in 3 of these already. I mean, it's a question to ask of him yesterday for sure.
But he's not a great in-game coach. When he throws a challenge, has he always been bad at challenge flags?
What coach is good at them?
Good point. LaFleur, do you guys blame LaFleur for the Jordan Love interception? What was that play call? Why would they take a deep shot there when they're going down for the winning field goal?
Well,
that
was
such
open
an odd
underneath.
play.
Somebody was wide open underneath.
But it was a running back. It was A.J. Dillon. You might not throw to him. But it was certainly weird. I'm not sure LaFleur has the goods either.
I mean, people love to tout LaFleur's winning percentage. It's like, well, Aaron Rodgers was there. It's going to be a little bit different with Jordan Love, who, by the way, does not look like they're going to just be passing the baton from one Hall of Famer to the next. Not to bury the kid a little early, but it doesn't look the same.
He's good in the second half of games. He's really bad in the first half.
But even when they were 2-0, right, there were a lot of cut-ups of look how amazing this offense is. They're doing this, they're doing that, all this design, and now they've been garbage for a month.
Also, that other touchdown, I mean, you're wasting all the luck you're going to have in one career, in one game, basically, where the ball ricochets in the end zone. When does anything ever good happen of that? And another Green Bay offensive player just catches it.
That was fascinating. It was 2 bad teams. There's no doubt about that, but you kind of had to watch that game for some reason.
Not much on the red zone, though. The red zone barely went to that game. I think partly because there was nothing to show from it. A lot of
field goals.
But there were a lot. Every other game was rapid fire, but you got to wait and hope for a Packer Bronco cutaway. The Seahawks survived 2 second-half turnovers from Geno Smith to beat the Cardinals yesterday, 2010. And the Giants began a win streak, taking a 14-7 thriller from
Commanders.
Tyrod Taylor. Touchdown passes to Darren Waller and Saquon Barkley, who says he spoke last week with GM Joe Shane, who told him they were not planning to trade Barkley before next Tuesday's deadline.
That's a big loss for the Commanders. I think if you're a Washington fan, you are ecstatic this morning. Move up those draft ranks. Giants blowing their chance to get in the top 10. huge W for Washington fans because neither of those teams are doing anything except drafting a quarterback.
Because Sam Howell's going to die at some point this year.
He's going to get sacked. He's on pace to be sacked like 90 times.
Yeah, he's got to understand to let go of the ball. He is running around a lot.
Or maybe they should be running the same offense they used to run for Patrick Mahomes for Sam Howell. It's like not the same guy.
Yeah, and by the way, the Giants, I saw Peter Schrager tweeted, our buddy at NFL Network, that they're a game and a half out of the wild card. Oh, my God. Do not give hope to that fan base. That was a JV football game yesterday.
Wait, if they're only a game and a half out at 2-5, what 4-win team is in a wild card spot right now?
I have no idea. Show me the math.
Yuck.
Wait, do you have the Jonathan Allen? EJ, would you say in your history of editing tape, was this one of the most difficult sound bites to censor?
Yeah, this was like doing open heart surgery when it comes to cutting tape. This was
how confident do you feel?
My grad school degree went to my video audio editing skills to make sure we can actually air Jonathan Allen and what he said yesterday after the game.
How confident are you that you got every bleep?
50-50 maybe.
All those dice.
That's great.
All right. Well, I mean, listen, Bogusch, I hate to ask for a soundbite while you're here with your update.
No, I leave it for you guys.
Jonathan Allen, this is Washington Commanders unloading on he's sick of losing like this.
They whooped our plain and simple. Got to be better.
Anything they did that surprised you guys early on?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think it's just a lack of focus on our part, a lack of attention to detail, not starting fast, and creating holes that are too big for us to overcome in the second half.
Does it get frustrating when that seems...
Yes, it does. I'm f***ing tired of this f***ing tired of this It's been 7 f***ing years of the same tired of this
What can you do now going forward to get it turned around?
Get our minds right and get ready to play Philadelphia.
That was a slow burn. I was like, when's it coming? When's it coming? Like, oh, there it is.
And that's
it's like Quentin Tarantino took over that interview.
That's like the DC NBC sports affiliate, and they posted it unedited.
What?
I hit play on that on Twitter yesterday thinking they were going to bleep it so I could play it this morning, and every single one of those things was clear as day. And no, hey, this has curses in it.
Right.
No, what is it, NSFW thing? It was just like, here's him freaking out, and here's 8 curses rapid fire from their official account.
Well, listen, Jonathan Allen has a reason to be upset. He looked pretty intense after the game. I'm like, man, if I was, if you've been in those scrums before, I would have slowly walked away.
Guys
I felt like he was about to
sometimes.
slug somebody.
Yep.
Real quick, Texas QB Quinn Ewers reportedly has a grade 2 shoulder sprain. It's not a season ender, but there's no timeline yet for his return. Malik Murphy finished Saturday's win at Houston. The Boston Bruins are 5-0 after a 3-1 win in Anaheim. Max Verstappen won the F1 race in Austin, Texas yesterday. That's 15 wins this year, 50 for his career. He has 4 races left to break the single-season wins record that he set a year ago. And last and least, the Eagles won their football game last night, 31-17. And tonight, the Phillies can win their second consecutive pennant in Game 6 with the D-backs. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you. Everything coming up Philly right now. Coming up, the big question facing one Super Bowl contender and who got themselves back in the MVP race. We'll get to all that in a moment. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, new morning show here on CBS Sports Radio. So I know this is my fault. It's my fault. I have a 4-year-old, and I left my phone sort of like on our bed in our bedroom, and it had an NFL game kind of on the top part of the phone. And on the bottom, it had like Twitter that was just like updating, right? Like scrolling, like tweets coming in. So the phone was kind of like a split screen between the game and then just Twitter kind of happening in the background. And I wasn't paying attention for a minute. And my kid went over to the phone. And it just so happened to be the moment they posted a rapper named Blueface at the Rams game yesterday with 4 strippers in a box that was right next to the field throwing dollar bills on their butts where they're just like shaking their tushes. I don't know what to say. It's early in the morning. So just like what you would see in a strip club, but not in a strip club right there. And it's my fault. My kid definitely clicked on it. And when he gets older and becomes a pimp, I'm only going to have myself to blame.
Yeah, if you think the NFL wanted to ban the Eagles tush push, they definitely want to ban this form of tush 50 yard. It was like 50 feet from the field. It was an amazing achievement by Blueface, who also proposed to his girlfriend in the same game. Did you guys see that?
I didn't see that. Was she one of the ladies?
And she said yes. I don't know if she was one of the strippers.
Oh my gosh.
But this is so funny to see the button-up NFL have to deal with that. I just love, there's a league meeting today where someone is saying, what are we going to do about these strippers?
I swear the Rams offensive line was not working as hard as these women. Yeah. They were on their P's and Q's.
They were good.
They were good.
Pros. Still, I would take 4 strippers. Well, I mean, maybe this isn't a surprise. Over stupid Taylor Swift dancing with Brittany Mahomes. That was so lame. I told you Taylor Swift couldn't dance. My daughter said Taylor Swift dances and dresses like she's 50.
Yeah.
And we saw it on display last night. My daughter's 13 and thinks Taylor Swift is uncool. And she's kind of convinced me now. Although my 11-year-old saw Eras this weekend and loved it.
Okay.
So yeah, I know there's a lot of opinions out there, but I don't think Taylor Swift's doing herself any favors at these games because we're really getting to know her here. I think she should pull it back a little bit.
Well, we're definitely not getting to know her. It's definitely all being done for the cameras. This seems like one massive publicity stunt. It still does. But she and Brittany Mahomes doing a choreographed dance, I was just embarrassed for everybody. I was embarrassed for them. I was embarrassed for myself for having to watch this. I was like immediately taken into a vortex where I was back in high school and I didn't like this then. And I'm definitely not a fan of it now. I just thought it looked very lame.
Yeah, I think that's overexposing. Like, we're getting to see a side of Taylor Swift that we didn't know before. I think if you're a star at that level, you got to keep some mystery. And now that she's showing up every Sunday in front of 30 million viewers,
right.
and actually a few extra million just to watch her, like, all of a sudden my wife's like, wants to watch the game. She's like, I want to see what Taylor Swift's going to do. I don't know. I think she should start to go in a private suite because this is not helping her.
Man, and here's the thing. None of us know Brittany Mahomes, but if you watched Quarterback, the Netflix documentary, that didn't do her any favors either. Like, I'm sure she's fine, and obviously Mahomes, it's their relationship, who cares? But what you see in the Netflix documentary is her in the suites just shrieking, like screaming when things are going well, and like pouting when things are going wrong, and just like basically just being very childlike watching the Chiefs games. And maybe she's just a fan. That's fine. Some of it, we all get riled up.
I mean, you know who Taylor Swift and Brittany Mahomes are? They are the high school girlfriends of the jocks on the team, and they're wearing their jerseys of their boyfriends, and they're letting everybody know that they're the significant others that they're the stars. And it's like, I have had no issue with Taylor Swift at all during this whole Chiefs, Travis Holmes saga. This was a tipping point. That dance, them doing that thing, I was like, you know what? I'm out.
We were all like rather offended by it. Just not because it was offensive, just because it was so lame. Like, we'd rather have the strippers at the Rams game than watch these two girls, do a 4-second dance together.
That's right.
I will tell you though.
Pete, we got you there.
I think we had an argument about this last night. Travis Kelce is playing better because Taylor Swift, he wants to impress her.
That's crazy.
Travis Kelce.
He's arguably the greatest tight end of all time. He doesn't need Taylor Swift there.
He's never in his life had 2 halves like he's had in the last 2 games. Like, he broke every record there ever was for tight ends the first half.
First of all, the Chargers suck, and the defense should maybe try doubling him a little bit.
The last game, too. Where was the defense on him? So he's averaging 108 yards per game when Taylor is there and 46 yards when she's not there. That's analytics, people.
Right.
You telling me
that's also Chicago Bears? That's too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she's showing up to the game.
Well, how about when he raised the football over his head at the goal line and got pushed in? I mean, that guy is on fire with her. I think that she is helping the team.
Anyway, that play where Mahomes kind of shovels the pass into traffic, that is the worst play in the world for every other team in the NFL. For Mahomes and Kelce, it's like, of course it's going to score.
Magical.
Coming up, we didn't get to the guy who got himself back in the MVP race yesterday, and boy, was it a dominant performance. We'll get to that in a moment. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He thinks Frisbee golf is the sport of the future. She's sticking with football. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
A major test for the Detroit Lions, and they flunked it big time. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. It is Maggie and Perloff, new morning show right here on CBS Sports Radio. The Lions are still a great story. They've given their fans hope, Perloff. They're a division leader in the NFC North. That might not be saying much. But they went on the road to face another division leader in the Baltimore Ravens. And this was a small spread. Everyone thought this was going to be a close game, but not sure which way it was going to come out. And it was a thorough shellacking. This was a Lions team that was riding high. The offense had been explosive. They had just come off of 4 straight games where they were beating opponents by 2 scores, just averaging over 20 points a game. The Ravens had scored 4 touchdowns before Detroit got a first down yesterday. It was just a butt whooping.
Absolutely. I mean, I do think Detroit looked at this game on their schedule and said, all right, we're definitely not going to bring David Montgomery back for that. Out of conference, on the road. That was a huge difference. You could see, especially in the red zone, Detroit got close, and that's where David Montgomery's been pounding. I didn't see the real Detroit team last night. Once they got behind, you did realize one thing. Detroit needs to run the ball to be a dominant team, and once you're down 28-0, Lamar Jackson's on fire right now. I'm not panicking about Detroit at all after that game. I think that they're still going to kill all their bad opponents. That was a road loss, and without Montgomery, they're going to be totally fine. Their defense is a little vulnerable. Don't think that game is going to translate to future games for Detroit.
Okay, they didn't have David Montgomery, but this offense had been super explosive, and they did have Gibbs. They did have Jahmyr Gibbs.
Who's also been hurt, by the way.
Yeah, who carried the ball 11 times for 68 yards. They couldn't get anything going. There was not one player, I think, who was going to determine the difference in this game because the Ravens were all over the Lions. And here's the thing. Will it end up mattering in terms of the Lions and their pursuit of the number 1 overall seed in the NFC? Maybe not, but they were going up against a class team in the AFC, and it was not even competitive. And Lamar Jackson now has to have himself staunchly back in the MVP race. He was almost perfect yesterday. 21 for 27, 357 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air, 1 in his legs. I mean, he was great. They are are they like a sleeping giant? It's weird to say that about the Ravens because they're division leader, but we give them no publicity whatsoever as the national media, and they were awesome yesterday.
Yeah, they were awesome. But again, have I seen that movie before? I feel like Lamar Jackson won an MVP. And did that result in a Super Bowl?
It didn't, but he's got more offensive weapons now.
Yeah.
And it definitely is different. Now,
he still holds on to the ball a little bit.
Yeah, but right now, at least the Lions couldn't make him pay for it at all. And we'll see against better defenses. Obviously, we saw what happened against the Steelers a couple of weeks ago and all the drops, but the offense is different. Like before we were saying, oh, it's still Lamar. He's still running. He's still doing all that. It's different. It feels much different. And that's why this year could be a different result in the playoffs.
Well, you know when it took off? It was that game against the Steelers where you saw they were just 5 open drops. Like he is throwing the ball differently. All that is true. But I'm telling you right now, they're not getting the number 1 seed. Their schedule is too tough. So they're going to be in that mix where we're going to have to see Lamar Jackson in the playoffs beat 2 or 3 good teams. I'm just not convinced it's going to happen yet. It's going to be the same playoff story where I think the defenses get much tougher. Look at the schedule, by the way. They have to go their last 4 games at Jacksonville, whose defense looks amazing, at San Francisco, obviously, then Miami and Pittsburgh. So they have to get the number 1 seed to really put themselves in position here. I think it's going to be too hard to do. Well, it's a function partly because their division is really competitive.
Yeah, the division is awesome as we expected. It took a minute to kind of get going, and the Bengals still have to get going a little bit. And the Browns are crazy win yesterday where one Colts defender gets called for 2 straight defensive penalties and ends up setting up the win for Cleveland, who was playing mostly with their backup quarterback yesterday. But I don't know. Like, I think the Ravens, yes, the schedule is hard, but they're putting some distance between themselves right now. They're 5-2. Steelers are nipping at the heels, and obviously the Steelers have a win over them. But I'm looking at this Ravens team, and I'm feeling a lot different about them because before it was the Lamar show, and that's it. Now it's the Lamar show, and oh my gosh, we have so much more.
Yes, but this win yesterday, I do think it's one of those games where it was game flow where they just jumped all over them. Then when the Lions can't run the ball, then there's not much they can do. So I'm not going to read as much into the blowout. Remember the year that Lamar won the MVP?
Yeah.
They started off the season, I think they beat the Dolphins 57-3. They will just get rolling sometimes. And when that offense is rolling, again, it's like the Cowboys. Show me in the playoffs. Is that unfair to do? Because there is a history here where they've not delivered on this era of the Ravens.
I don't think that's unfair. No, I think the expectations are that high. But
yeah, oh, definitely.
But
Like, it's Super Bowl or bust. I will agree with that. Like, if this team is so good, like, if they don't win a Super Bowl, then they didn't do what they're supposed to do. Like, it's disappointing.
Also, I mean, let's think about it. The Ravens are kind of due for a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They find themselves, like, in this position every, like, 8 years or something, and all of a sudden, here come the Ravens with a really legitimate shot. You're not going to keep them down for long. And here's the other thing about Baltimore. Baltimore, sneaky, has a great home field. Baltimore is one of those teams where when they are clicking, they are so dangerous. If they're not at home, they're dangerous on the road. Why? Because good lines travel. They've had some injuries on the offensive line, but still good. And the defense is that classic Ravens D where they find these guys in the draft who just turn into all pros. So then on the flip side, you've got the Lions. And I have to imagine the Lions fans are waking up with a bit of a hangover today.
Yeah.
You think you're in it. You're flying high. You feel like you got the best team in decades and generations. The fan base is traveling well, they're showing up in opponents' stadiums, and then you just get walloped like this. I mean, it's got to be a step back.
I don't think Detroit fans are that sad. I'd like to hear from them. Like, I have a good buddy who's a Lions fan, my friend Ray, and he wasn't bothered by this loss. He's like, yeah, you're going to lose that game anyway. Look at their schedule, Maggie. They're going to be
a lot of wins on the schedule.
13-4. Yeah. So I do think, yes, this is what my friend Jalen Hurts says. You're either winning or you're learning. This is definitely a learning situation.
Your personal friend, right?
Your friend.
Yeah. Jalen says you're winning or you're learning. So to me, yes, this was a bad game for the Lions, but I don't see this as a referendum. Also, the NFC is a little weaker than the AFC. Like, Detroit does not have the same road that Baltimore has. So they could fix this. They're going to beat Vegas, go to 6-2. Then they at the Chargers, but Bears, Packers, Saints, Bears, Broncos, Vikings. It is win, 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 win.
No, I get it. But, okay, we talked about the Miami Dolphins, who lost last night to Perloff's Philadelphia Eagles. And you look at the Dolphins, you're like, they're 5-2. But who have they beaten?
Yeah.
And then who have they lost to? They've beaten bad teams. They've lost to good teams. You look at the Detroit Lions now, outside of the KC win, which was the season opener where they did not have Kelsey or Chris Jones, which, listen, you still get the W. But who have you actually beaten here and who have you lost to? You've actually beaten Atlanta, Green Bay, Carolina, and Tampa Bay. That's not exactly murderer's row. So is it going to be the thing where Detroit fattens up on a bad schedule and then when we get to the playoffs, you really let people down? Because here's the thing. Detroit Lions fans understand what it's like to be humbled. They've been humbled for decades. However, it's different when you have expectations and then you get humbled like that.
Okay, the difference between them and last year's Vikings, who were 13-4 and got killed in the first round, the Lions have a strategy, a formula. They have to establish a run. Like, they can run all over you. When you're down 28-0, that's out the window. Jared Goff's not going to carry this team. So it's a matter of game flow. Like, they can get into the playoffs and run on somebody, hope for a low-scoring game. Aiden Hutchinson makes a big play. I'm not giving up on them. I totally understand what you're saying. Yes, they beat nobody. Luckily for them, they play nobody. Yes. They're going to be a good playoff position. And if they could just get to that run game, then they're a much more dangerous team.
But you know what? That's like, it's like the euphemism to call someone, it's like, you're a good run team. What does that really mean? It means you're a front runner. It means you've got to be ahead and you can't play from behind. And I'm curious if the Lions can actually play from behind.
Yeah.
This is like Dallas. This is like
kind of the Niners a little bit. Like, we don't think Brock Purdy can. I don't know that he's never played from behind, but I imagine he's not great at it.
Does like Brock Purdy bringing him back from 2-3 scores down? I don't know. Bills are like this. Like, some teams just have to get out to a big lead and can't come back.
Are the Bills like that? Because they don't run the ball. I think the Bills more as Josh Allen throws desperate passes to get the lead back.
They can have these sort of furious comebacks, but they're obviously much better front running.
That's a great point. They're in that list of teams that once they start running the ball, they're really, really good. I think Miami has a little bit of that too.
Maybe
because Miami can kill you with Mike McDaniel's run game, but if they're behind, we saw last night against the Eagles, they couldn't do it.
Which is odd, right?
Yeah.
Because you would think if any team could be built to come back from a big deficit, wouldn't it be Miami? They got this quick strike offense. You've got Tyreek Hill. Like, you should never be out of it if you're Miami.
But really, the guts of that offense is much like San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
They're running just, having multiple weapons. It starts with a run game. As an Eagles fan, I was so relieved to not have Miami run the ball. Eagles stuffed them early. That was huge. And same with the Ravens, by the way. David Montgomery is like the MVP of that Lions team. I thought that was a huge difference. In the red zone, they needed a tough run, and they had no one to do it.
Let's hear a little from the Ravens after this big win yesterday. First, can we get John Harbaugh, please? Pete, cut 11. He said Lamar Jackson wasn't even really happy with that win.
I just think he's very determined, very persistent. He's not even that. I don't think he's even that happy with the game. When I see him in the locker room right now, it's not like he's all giddy in there, is he, Mark? No. Sure wasn't. He's thinking about the plays that he could have had. There he comes in here. See, right? He's thinking about the plays he wants to get better at. So that's how all our guys are thinking right now. That's how they should be thinking.
All right. Lamar Jackson,
I like that.
A nearly perfect game, not happy with his performance.
If I'm a Ravens fan, that's exactly what I want to hear. That's very Belichickian to be mad after a win, especially a win like that, a 38-6 win. Yes.
Let's hear from Lamar. Says he can't get too happy. It's just one regular season game.
I believe when you're playing regular season games, you should be okay, with winning. I'm all right with winning, but still regular season, And we made strides for improvement from last week and early on in the season. I believe we did, but it's just one regular season game.
Yeah, saying the right things there. It wasn't, though. I mean, they can say that, and they will say that, and the Lions will, own it and how they lost. But I don't think it was just a regular season win. I think when you have these tests throughout the season, you're trying to figure out where are the pressure points of my team. How good am I really? We talked about this with the Dallas Cowboys going against the San Francisco 49ers, the litmus test. How good are they really? Yeah. And this was one of those games I thought for the Detroit Lions, and it was terrible for them.
Nope, I don't think so. I think they mailed that one in. I really do. I think it's an out-of-conference game on the road when they're shorthanded. I don't think the Lions brought their A game. I think you'll see a different Lions.
I think they got smacked in the mouth and then just had no answers.
I think, they had basically the entire team was on the injury report coming to that game. I thought that they were caught,
But Perloff, do you feel like a team like the Lions, given they haven't won anything in forever, do you think they have the luxury or they have the right to go into a game where you're playing against an elite opponent and lay down like that? Like, I can understand maybe this is the Chiefs or this is, I don't want to say the Bills because I know Maggie would not accept that.
No.
But the Chiefs or the Eagles, you have this
strategic
game. Right. You say, all right, I understand. The Lions, they have not tasted enough success to me to play the way they played yesterday.
I don't know. Your right guard's out. Your leading running back is out. I think that they kind of played that game a certain way. I think that they are looking ahead to other things because
your right guard is out. It's the NFL.
But they're a shredding run blocking line. Like
we were talking about Jared Goff as an MVP candidate with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. You can't just all of a sudden it's like, they're only a running game. By the way, good teams win in a variety of different ways. They just couldn't run the ball because they got down by 4 touchdowns before they got a first down.
Yeah, but I'm telling you right now, this team is going to win 12 or 13 games. That doesn't change anything about them.
They might, but who cares? I almost have to shrug at this point.
Yeah, they're in the NFC. It's a little different. They're not going to Baltimore in the playoffs. They're not going to Kansas City in the playoffs. Yeah, I don't think they're winning the Super Bowl, but I do think that they are not somebody to be counted out. Like, they come out with 13 wins. That again, your Vikings did last year too, EJ. I think that they're going to probably get a home field playoff game. And if they establish a run, they could win a playoff game. They could even end up in the NFC title game.
Let's go to the phones. 855-212-4CBS, a game we haven't talked much about. George is calling from Los Angeles, wants to weigh in. The Rams lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers at home yesterday. George, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. The Rams got humble in the fourth quarter. They looked pretty bad.
Yep.
But the referee didn't do them any favors in that game. At 4th and 1, they still had one more shot, but for some reason on the replay, they gave Pittsburgh the first down. It was obviously not a first down. So
it was wild.
That was an amazing call.
It was an unbelievable thing. I was like, are we watching this on live television? They realize they're on TV right now, right? And they just gave Pittsburgh this first down that they definitely did not earn.
Yeah, and you couldn't review it too.
Yeah, because Sean McVay did not have any timeouts left, so he couldn't ask for the review or the challenge or whatever. And so you just got this dumbfounded look of Sean McVay staring up at that massive scoreboard, just like, what do you do? And Pittsburgh kneeled out the game. Crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still here, but that was embarrassing by the referees. You got to get that right. It's the NFL, for God's sake.
I know. And George, thank you for the call, and sorry about that with the Rams, but it was egregious. There were a couple, just really, really tough calls. And you, Perloff, you have a theory because the offense has been down, and it's been this sort of story about offense is down, people's fantasy teams, it's like all-time lows. All the unders were hitting in Vegas. You called this. It would be a flip-flop.
So there's an NFL writer named Warren Sharp who's really, really good. He's very sharp, no pun intended. He's an analytics guy, and he wrote this article about the pre-snap calls against the offense and why the defense has taken the upper hand. I guarantee they read it in the league office, and the officials were told, do not call a bunch of things on the offense. So you saw DPI all over the place. You saw them giving every call to the offense, and it helped for most of the time. Most of the games, I don't know how many went over. Last week it was 2-12-1. I'm sure it was a majority went over this week. So that's good for the NFL. I think it's the right move. I was getting sick of the way they were calling offensive holding. It's
annoying, but at the same time, it's so inconsistent.
Yeah.
And that's where fans have a gripe. George is talking about an obvious bad call that happened in that Steelers-Rams game, but it's just you never know week to week and crew to crew what's going to happen. Meanwhile,
totally.
The most impressive or the most difficult race, we started off the segment talking about Lamar Jackson put himself in the MVP conversation with his performance yesterday against the Lions. How in the world is anyone going to determine who Defensive Player of the Year is?
I know.
You have TJ Watt yesterday, who is a single game wrecker. Myles Garrett literally jumps over the offensive line of scrimmage to block a field goal yesterday. It was like he was doing hurdles in the Olympics.
Amazing.
You have, who am I forgetting?
Well, Micah Parsons he's been a little inconsistent. He could come back out of nowhere. Danielle Hunter on the Vikings is leading the league in sacks. If he gets traded to a contender, all of a sudden you have that guy.
We'll see him tonight.
Yeah, we'll see him tonight. He could chase the all-time sack record.
How about Chris Jones? Has probably been the most important person on the Chiefs, not named Patrick Mahomes.
Aaron Donald is still
always
elite.
The same.
There's a bunch of guys. It's weird because it's an offensive era, but we have these singular NFL stars who are unblockable. And there was a point where the Colts should have just let Cleveland stay on offense, so Myles Garrett wasn't on the field. When he jumped over that guy to block the field goal, I've never seen that. You called him as Defensive Player of the Year, and I think he's the front runner now. If the Browns are at least near 500, it's all because of him and their kicker. That they have two weapons, Myles Garrett and Dustin Hopkins. Otherwise, they have no chance. He is unbelievable. We thought he was going to be like this. I think it's really come to fruition now.
Just a last thing here about the Steelers, and you're welcome to call in 855-212-4CBS. You get a little of Mike Tomlin, Andy Reid. It's not as long of a streak, but Mike Tomlin now, I believe, 6 consecutive games following a bye.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And Mike Tomlin looks like he's headed towards another 500 or above season.
Of course.
Hall of Famer.
It's what they do. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Even the Matt Canada slander. It's put on hold briefly.
Briefly. I picked the Steelers to go to the Super Bowl, and I want a new offensive coordinator. I think the Steelers fans should keep yelling at Matt Canada. It wasn't that good yesterday.
No, it wasn't that good. 855-212-4CBS. Welcome to Weigh In. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio is where you can watch this show. We say good morning to the Weedos and the coffee drinkers. Of course, our incredible CBS Sports Radio affiliates who we love and appreciate. The free Odyssey app is where you can download and listen to the show. It's crystal clear. Sirius XM channel 158. Okay, coming up, the one Super Bowl contender looking like frauds. Get to that in a minute. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, you can stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, sponsored by AutoZone. All season long, you can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. So Maggie teased this contender is possibly a fraud. And we didn't discuss this before. I'm not sure which fraud she was talking about, but I have to be honest. I got the info out of her in the break. I'm a bit surprised here.
How? How could you be surprised?
Who is your fraud?
It's the Buffalo Bills. It's the team I've been rooting for since I was a kid. And it pains me to say it, but they are not the contender like other teams in the AFC. They're not even close to being on the same level as the Chiefs, but that's probably been for a while now.
Okay, I'll buy that.
They beat Miami, but to be honest, was that a little bit more about Miami having a letdown after they had scored 70 the week before? The Bills, here's the thing.
They beat them 48-20. Okay.
Here's the thing. If you are a great team in this league, you have to be able to diagnose what's wrong, and you've got to be able to change it, especially when you're going against weaker opponents, right? So for the last 3 games, and I'm not saying that Jacksonville is necessarily weaker, but the last 3 games, the Bills have had a total of 10 first half points. And 2 of those 3 games, they played against 2 of the worst teams in the league, in the Giants and yesterday in the New England Patriots. You cannot be that bad consistently and have the same problems over and over again, especially when you're playing against inferior competition. You are asking to get upset, which is exactly what happened yesterday.
Okay, counter argument. This happens to good teams lose divisional games. The Eagles lose to the Commanders all the time, and no one quite knows why. So can't you just chalk that up? Haven't the Bills had great seasons where they've dropped games like this?
Okay, you have a little institutional knowledge because, I don't know, your team went to the freaking Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
You know that they're actually able to win these big games and get to the big game. The Bills don't have that institutional knowledge. The Bills are objectively should be a great team, but you watch how they play against the Giants and the Patriots, and I'll say against Jacksonville also, and it is atrocious. And the furious comebacks at the end, it's not sustainable. And you saw that yesterday, how it came back to bite them in the butt. Now, here's the thing.
But that was a nice comeback.
It failed.
Well, I mean, it was a nice comeback that they were down when it looked like the game was over and they came back and took the lead.
This is a team in the Patriots that lost to the Saints 34-0.
I hear you, but didn't the same thing happen 2 years ago in that windy game where they dropped a game to a very average Patriots team? Then last year they dropped a game to the Jets game, and both times they ended up with 13 wins. So what's the problem?
Well, the Bills already have as many losses this year as they did the entire last year, and their schedule is very tough. They've lost 3 All-Pros on defense. It's not the same. And guys keep missing guys, All-Pros, Pro Bowlers, whatever you want to call it. And where's the help? The trade deadline, tick, tick, tick. Are they even going to be able to make a move because they're up against the cap because Josh Allen makes so much money?
So refresh my memory. Who are the 3 All-Pros? I know Milano.
Milano went out, Tre'Davious White, and Daquan Jones is a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Thank you.
Is he done for the year?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
All right.
They can't keep losing all these guys on defense. And even still, the defense has kept them in these games. This is totally 100% on the offense. To me, it's on the play calling, and something's got to change. Now, I would say that at least they can control this, maybe, because I don't think they're getting beat necessarily in the first half. They're just not showing up. And the play calling, as I said, is just so infuriating that it's on them to change it.
I saw some nice plays by James Cook. Why not a little more of that?
Great question. You took him in the second round. The second round.
He's on my fantasy team. I would certainly like to see a lot more of him.
You saw in the first play coming out of halftime. They go on this long, sustained drive. They drive the ball 80 yards, and James Cook was a huge part of that drive. And by the way, what the hell got into Mac Jones yesterday? He looked like Tom Brady out there. He couldn't miss. This is a terrible quarterback whose entire career is on life support, and the Bills basically breathe life back into Mac Jones's career. Yesterday.
He had 250 yards. Let's not say it was.
Did you watch the game? He was incredible.
Yeah.
Did you watch them on third down?
I watched it. First of all, the Patriots tried to hand that game back to the Bills.
Because they suck. Like, the Patriots stink. They didn't have any choice but to try to hand it back, and the Bills still couldn't take it. And the Bills are supposed to be a good team, but you can't be this inconsistent and still be considered a Super Bowl contender. I'm sorry. It's out.
I told you my black box theory on them. Whatever Josh Allen does at the end of the games when he's furiously bringing them back, make the whole team out of that.
Okay.
Like, you need to make the whole plane out of black box.
So here's the problem with that, and this is the catch-22 that I'm realizing now is happening with the Buffalo Bills. They were, 5 for 12 on third down yesterday. Blech.
That's good.
Josh Allen.
5 for 12 is fine. I mean, with the
statistically fine, but there were so many. They're always in 3rd and 8 because they can never, ever give themselves third and manageable. It's like impossible. But here's the thing. Josh Allen usually accounts for a lot of these third downs when he converts them with his legs. Here's the catch-22 of the Bills. They need him to run the ball in order to win. The more he runs the ball, the more likely it is he's going to get injured.
Yeah.
They have not figured out a sweet spot here. Meanwhile, he's already playing with a shoulder injury, but they have not figured out a sweet spot here on how to use him.
You're saying that like that's revelatory. You've been saying that for 5 years.
Well, against good teams, it's one thing. Against terrible teams, it should be a no-brainer.
Okay, they have Tampa Bay on Thursday night.
Yeah, primetime.
If they lose this game, I will finally buy into your Bills panic, but I think you just tend to panic about the Bills too soon.
Perloff, if you lost to the Patriots and then needed a referee bail you out against the Giants, you'd be panicking too.
They're fine. They're going to be 5-3 by Friday. And then they have some easy games on their schedule. They're going to
make you think that they are in any way this is a gimme against Tampa? They were an 8.5-point favorite against New England. Again, one of the worst teams in the league. So you can't give me that Tampa's a bad team because they just lost to a bad team in the Patriots.
Okay, let's do a massive, biggest show bet you've ever made in your life. Straight up money line on this game.
No, I'm not doing that because.
Well, you just said what makes you think they're safer. Okay,
I don't want to bet on the Bills right now. They don't deserve my money. And
Tampa Bay is going to travel to Buffalo on a Thursday night and win a football game? How is that going to happen? Maybe I'm totally wrong, but Tampa Bay is terrible.
New York almost did it. I mean, the Giants went into Buffalo on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, but New York's at least a Northeastern team. I cannot see this game be close. And the Giants are just as good.
Winter yet.
Tampa Bay is bad, by the way. Tampa Bay is really bad.
So are the Giants and so are the Patriots.
Oh, show bet 3-way, 4-way, straight up. If you guys are so confident in your Bucks, put it on the line.
Here's the thing. I had Patriots fans texting me yesterday, what are you doing? Your team is screwing up our shot at the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
I'm like, great question. I have no idea what they're doing because one team is trying to lose probably to get to a number 1 overall pick, and another team fancies themselves a Super Bowl contender. And you couldn't tell who was who yesterday.
And Perloff, I know you talked about the Bills being fine, and you've pointed some of these games, but I'm looking at these games that they have on their schedule. They have at Cincinnati. They have at Philadelphia.
Yeah.
They have at Kansas City.
Yeah.
They have home against Dallas. They have at Miami to end the season. I mean, they're only 4-3. Let's say you lose all those games, which is entirely possible.
Right.
You're 9-8.
They're going to lose all those.
You're fighting for your life.
If you can't win one of those games, then what are you doing here? So
that's what I'm saying. They might not deserve to be here.
First of all, they're going to win some of those games. EJ, you weren't here. Maggie convinced everybody. It was panic. She's like, they're not going to be able to beat the Raiders. They're not going to be able to beat the Raiders. And it just didn't happen. She's overly negative. Don't let it infect you.
No, Perloff, here's the thing. They rebounded to beat the Raiders after losing to, was it the Jets, right? It was week 2, I believe.
Yes.
They rebounded in that way, and it was great for 2 games. Raiders and Commanders. They can't sustain it. They find a way in a formula that works, and they abandon it. And by the way, they had like 4 injuries on defense since that game.
Set up a bet. You guys love the Bucks. You think Baker's going to be able to do this against
hold on.
Bucks?
Maggie's worried about the Bucks. I'm worried about the Bills' bigger picture.
Same.
I'd be more willing to make that bet, although, it's like weird to be rooting against your own team. But I'd be willing to bet right now that I don't know if they're a playoff team. And it's not about the Bucks. It's about what EJ said. At Cincinnati, at the Chiefs, at the Eagles.
Let's do it. I think they're still a playoff team.
I don't like what I see. And they're not going to fire Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator, in season. But, man, is this thing broke.
Just on a side note, let's keep in mind that the Bucs are coached by Todd Bowles, who's perhaps
one of the worst head coaches I've seen.
Okay, that's fine, but they just lost to the Patriots, who are worse than the Buccaneers.
Yeah, well,
I don't think they're going to lose on Thursday, but the problem is they lost yesterday.
But that
and they lost to the Jaguars. And they almost lost to the Giants.
They should have lost to the Giants.
Right.
Where was that game yesterday?
It was
Foxborough.
in New England.
Yeah. Playing in New England compared to the Bucs coming up on a Thursday night short week.
Where was the Saints game? The Saints game was in Foxborough. They won 34-0. Right. The Saints backed like Michael Jackson moonwalk through Foxborough, and the Bills gave up 29 points to Joe Montana / Mac Jones yesterday.
Okay, so you were saying, Bogus, you can't say that you are not worried about the Bucs then. So you are worried about the Bucs.
I think it's a losable game for them on Thursday. I don't think they're going to lose, but it's a losable game because they've given you no reason to be confident in them for the last month.
How about this? Every game's a losable game.
Every game, you guys are letting Maggie. So every single game in the NFL is a losable game. There's no game where you say, "Oh, this team has no chance." You guys don't believe in the no chance.
Buffalo allows these teams that are beneath them to play at their level. That's what we're saying. Is that it's not that Buffalo isn't way more talented than on paper. You look at these games and say, "Oh, they should win." Is that when they have these games, they underperform.
They've been. First of all, that is statistically not true. They're one of the biggest cover teams. When they're 10-point favorites, they blow out teams. They blow out teams all the time.
But Perloff, you got to look at what's in front of you.
This
We're not
is just
talking
the
about
last
a season.
2 weeks.
This is not a season aggregate. This is also, we're talking about what's happening now, which is the team is injured on defense and their offense is clearly in a terrible slump.
I totally agree with that. The injuries on defense are a big deal, but I think that you guys are underestimating how bad some of these teams are playing are. Like, I think I watched the Bucs Falcons. That was my pick this week.
That's the thing. We did underestimate how bad the
flawed.
Patriots were and how bad the Giants are. And they still should have lost to one and did lose yesterday.
The Patriots game was in New England divisional game, and Belichick knows that team really well. I think it's hard to judge where the Bills are based on that game. Yes, they're not great.
They're their own worst enemy. It could be me, you, EJ, Bogusch, and Bellotti out there, and they would turn the ball over 3 times. It's not about who's on the other side.
Good defense.
You guys got to do a show bet with me on this game. Somebody's
No, because it's not about the Bucs. That's the thing. The Bucs is the short-sighted. That's just the next opponent. This is about.
But
a
you guys
bigger
keep
issue.
saying it's a losable game, so you gotta. We'll give odds here because to me, this is not a losable game. I might end up. I will do something. I'll do something crazy if the Bucs win this game. Not shave an eyebrow, but something like that.
All right, well, let's get to
Maybe a tattoo.
Bogusch's headlines. We left no time for Bogusch. Wow, a tattoo. All right, let's think about it.
Yes, they were banged up on the O-line, but the Dolphins have now played 2 good teams this season and lost both times, scoring just 30 total points. A unique philosophy from head coach Mike McDaniel.
If you're going to lose games, you want it to be against a really good team, and you want it to hurt. There's the collection of coaches and players in the locker room right now are hurting because they feel like they left some plays on the field for sure.
The Dolphins did erase. Yeah, that was an 8-second answer delivered in 22 seconds. His team did erase a 17-3 hole, but then allowed the final 14 points of Sunday Night Football in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts throwing for 2 scores, ran for 1, but finished the game in a left knee brace. His head coach, Nick Sirianni.
There's nobody else I'd rather be our quarterback, and he's tough. Y'all saw. Y'all saw that he was going through a little something, and so he is tough.
The first time a limp was noticeable was on a second quarter run, but soon after, Hurts scrambled, made a great throw to A.J. Brown, who nearly scored. The brace came on at halftime. Hurts said he's fine, and, quote, "I hope not," when asked if the knee could make him miss time. Andy Reid's Chiefs have a 3-game lead in the AFC West through just 7 weeks after downing the Chargers 31-17.
I don't know that answer. If we had that answer, I think we'd fix it a long time.
You're not Andy Reid. You're Michael Brantley. Wait your turn. KC only beat Denver 19-8 in KC 10 days ago. That's their next game coming up. Had I correctly loaded Andy Reid's cut, he would have told you he's worried, about playing the Broncos for the second time in a short span. The Falcons are first in the NFC South, courtesy of Younghoe Koo's 51-yard field goal at the buzzer for a 16-13 win in Tampa Bay. And Tyson Bagent and the Bears beat Brian Hoyer and the Raiders 30-12. That snapped Chicago's 10-game losing streak in Chicago. The road team yet to lose in the ALCS. The Rangers winning again in Houston last night 9-2. So we get Game 7 there tonight. The Astros 1-4 at home this postseason after being 3 games under 500 there during the regular season. Here's Michael Brantley at the appropriate time.
I don't know that answer. If we had that answer, I think we'd fix it a long time ago. But it's just about one game at a time mentality now. That doesn't matter. It's in the past. We need to turn the page and be ready for tomorrow.
It's Christian Javier and Max Scherzer on the mound tonight. A 7 Central first pitch. Game 6 in Philly begins at 5 Eastern. The Padres offseason began with reports of major issues between manager Bob Melvin and the front office, and now reports that San Diego is letting Melvin interview for the Giants job, so that divorce should be finalized pretty soon. And Georgia's number 1 of the AP college football poll for the 19th straight week, but their 38 first-place votes, their second fewest of this season. Number 9, Alabama, rejoins the top 10 for the first time since mid-September. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Andrew Bogish. If you're watching the show, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, where the Weedos and the Coffee Drinkers hang out, they definitely want us to bet something on the Bills-Bucks game. But Maggie's Karaoke Pants says Perloff won't shave an eyebrow, but will gladly get a tattoo.
Well, that's exactly what I said.
Said Perloff could have no eyebrows and have had tattooed Bills win as eyebrows.
We always used to do show bets at Dan Patrick's show, and we'd get maybe 50 emails a day saying shave an eyebrow. That is what everyone wants to see. This is not the movie The Wall from 1980. I'm not shaving an eyebrow.
Also, I mean, you're sure it's going to grow back, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
So what are the odds on the Bills making the playoffs, by the way? I think you should go to Vegas with this one.
They're still, I think they're like 6 in Super Bowl odds still, but there's something about Vegas can't quit the Bills. They must be this sort of like, people must love betting on them.
Well, also too, Vegas is pretty smart. I would not discount them. Okay, they're minus 175 to make the playoffs, plus 140. That's probably the slimmest odds they've had in 5 years.
I was going to say, what do you think it was though before the Dolphins lost last night?
Yeah, no, I think the Bills loss to the Patriots probably knocked that out. I think it's a long. Josh Allen was right. It is a long season. Trust me. There's 25 injuries, and
that they still have yet to sustain.
Yeah,
Lovely.
but the Dolphins too. By the way, like I would not count the Dolphins as a finished product because they got to get through 17 weeks with Tua.
It's just so funny because, Perloff, you're like one of the only people I know who like you watch something, and I know you're watching the same thing we're watching.
Yeah.
You're watching every down, and just like you watch it, you see the team play badly, and you're just like, it doesn't matter.
Because you guys underestimate. You guys are
like,
overreact to one game. It's an 18-week
It's been a 3-game
schedule.
stretch where they've scored 10 points in the first half of 3 games combined. This is supposed to be a big offense, and then you're trying to play catch-up in the second half, and that's really hard to do no matter who you are in the NFL.
It was a statistical anomaly that they let Mac Jones have a game-winning touchdown drive yesterday. That will happen once every out of 100 times.
No.
It was a fluke loss. I mean, it was a fluke that they got back in the game, but that is not going to happen a lot, even to the Bills.
It wasn't. See, that's the thing. If you're watching it, it's not a fluke loss. This was the Patriots had their number basically from the beginning of the game. And the other part, it wasn't even, I mean, the Mac Jones play at the end, but it was the Ramondre Stevenson, right? Was he the one who had the big gain?
I think so. I still think the Bills have a great chance of making the playoffs because you look at the AFC North, they all have winning records, but they all are going to beat each other up and make their records come down a little bit. All they have to do is get to 10 wins. And there's some easy games on that schedule. I think they can get to 10 wins.
There's no such thing now as an easy game.
Definitely not Thursday against Baker Mayfield.
We'll figure out
By the way, we've done Amazon a favor here because we're clearly gearing up to make people want to watch this terrible Bills-Bucks game.
Do you know what next Sunday night is?
What?
Bears-Chargers.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Right. No thanks.
I'm all into that game.
Can they flex it?
Why would you flex that? That's going to be an unbelievable drama. The last 2 minutes, Justin Herbert against Tyson Bagent? Sign me up.
I mean, if that game has drama at the end for Herbert and the Chargers to do themselves dirty again, shame on them in the first place.
How do you know that Fields isn't back by then?
I don't think is he supposed to be back by then?
So the promo last night that ran had DJ Moore.
Yeah, I did notice that.
But Tirico talked about Bagent playing, so I think the expectation is Fields is going to remain out.
I thought Fields was more like a month.
They haven't said anything official yet. I don't even think they've confirmed a dislocated thumb. Maybe they did just that, but they've definitely not set a timetable from coming back.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. By the way, Tyson Bagent has a chance, if this, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but he has a chance to put himself in the, Brock Purdy.
MVP conversation?
No, I'm just saying, of all-time great stories, like a Kurt Warner, Brock Purdy, out-of-nowhere kind of guy. It's much better than the Purdy story. At least Purdy was actually drafted.
Yeah, Purdy was a college star. He was a Heisman candidate. For this guy's...
He won the D2 Heisman.
This
Tyson
guy?
Bagent.
But this guy's claim to fame is his dad is the best arm wrestler of all time. It's amazing.
Does that get you set for a career in the NFL? Anyway, coming up, okay, so question, are the Bills frauds? 855-212-4CBS. Coming up, the shocking revelation from the weekend. We get to that in a moment. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio. Bill Belichick got his 300th win yesterday. You wouldn't know it. I mean, the guy's not excited or happy or anything like that, as you would expect here. Let's listen to a little Bill Belichick. Can we, Pete? Cut 8. Asked about 300 wins and the significance.
Bill, what is your reaction to becoming the third head coach with 300 wins behind Don Shula and George Halas?
I mean, it's great. I'm really more focused on, our team and this year, and worry about that later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you. And good night. One thing we also learned yesterday, Ian Rappaport had a report before the game started that in the offseason, Bill Belichick had signed a contract extension, Perloff. So the idea that the Belichick is on the hot seat or that he could have been fired somehow in season, do we have to think about that differently now that we know that he just got paid by the Crafts this offseason?
So what are the details?
We never know the details. It's Belichick's contract.
Honestly, it does seem like he's there for a longer term. I think you guys should be excited. You, as in AFC East fans, I think this is a bad thing for the Patriots because I don't see them going anywhere. They're just never getting back to where they were with this team. It's not because Belichick's not a great coach. It's just they're in a rebuild that looks like it's not going to end anytime soon.
So according to Rappaport, contractually, he, quote, is locked up long term. So it's funny because there's a lot of heat on Belichick. And the seat is hot and thinking about who could replace him and where would he coach next. So that's all for nothing now? Like, there's no smoke around him? All these insiders in New England talking about how, this could really be the end for him? This is all just a bunch of nonsense?
I'm a little dubious because my buddy Tom Curran, who reports on them for, I believe he's now with Comcast New England, he's never wrong about this stuff. And he's been swearing that Kraft is looking at possibly moving on if they're terrible this year.
So why the contract extension?
I don't know. I'm surprised by that. I guess he's stuck there. So I guess Patriots fans better get used to 7 or 8 wins for the next 5 or 6 years.
I just think this has always been one of the most closely held and kept secrets in all of the NFL is how much does Bill Belichick actually make? I mean, he's probably making upwards of $20 million a year, easily, right? But you never know when exactly how much, what are the terms? And now, for the first time ever, it's actually relevant because the team's not doing well. Normally, it was like, all right, just pencil in your own blank check.
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem. It's not him as a coach, by the way. He could still coach. You saw it last night. I think he took an inferior team and tactically figured out a way to slow down the Bills, especially the first half. It's Bill Belichick, the GM. It's just not. He's behind. They're just so less athletic at so many different positions.
Okay, but you signed him to a long-term deal. Yeah. Why would Belichick think that just any employer out there, right? Your boss signs you to a long-term deal. You think they're happy with my performance.
Yeah, probably. That's why I think if you're a Patriots fan, you're kind of bummed about this because you're stuck. You're not going anywhere. And if you're a Bills fan or a Jets fan, I know you guys have these Bill Belichick nightmares, but this is okay because you're not going to have him competing for the division title. Not unless he gets some kind of miracle quarterback next year.
You do realize the Jets have literally never beaten the Patriots for
They've lost
a decade.
15 straight.
Yeah. Like as long as the hoodie's on that sideline, I never have confidence the Jets are going to beat them.
But when's the last time the Patriots won the division? It's been a while.
Probably 5 years, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, when's the next time they're going to win it?
Well, it doesn't matter because there's something called the wild card too, and they can play spoiler when they're a 1-5 team, like they may have done yesterday, upsetting the Bills. I mean, listen.
I don't think they win another division title with Belichick there. I can't see them beating the Dolphins and the Bills and the Jets.
Okay, listen, you don't necessarily have to win the division though to be considered a contender. There's a lot of great teams in the AFC.
Or you can be a thorn in the side of these other teams that are trying to go further.
Yeah, I don't see them being a contender either. I'm not sure how that plays out in the next 6-7 years.
Well, again, it's like, it'd be great if you're the Chiefs, you get to coach against Josh McDaniels and Brandon Staley and these other guys who are going to be just more head coach roadkill. All right, coming up, biggest surprise of the weekend.
One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She was the Heisman Trophy winner in 1986. He left her off the ballot. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Big win last night. Perloff's Philadelphia Eagles taking it to the Miami Dolphins. Miami, when they play good teams, looks like the offense isn't as revolutionary as people thought. Their 5 wins come against teams with losing records. Their 2 losses come against teams with winning records. And I thought Philadelphia, listen, they've got the answer. Every fourth down, which is normally like an apprehensive feeling for most fan bases and teams, when they're fourth and short, they do that stupid tush push, and they're all of a sudden onto a fresh set of downs. It was crucial in what was one of the biggest drives of the game last night.
I actually came away much more impressed with the Dolphins than I think you did. I saw, by the way, they moved up there like a clear second in the AFC in Super Bowl odds because that game was in Philly, and the Dolphins have like 6 guys were coming back off injury. Their pass rush was getting to Hurts, but Hurts is so slippery. There are reasons to be excited for the Dolphins. I would not count them out. This was not a terrible loss in my mind. This game was a little closer than 31-17. A couple things happened in the second half. I think they're going to be fine. Once Achane gets back and all those defensive guys get back, the Dolphins are going to have to be reckoned with if Tua is still healthy.
A little closer, I guess, but, Philadelphia called off the dogs. This easily could have been a 38-17, which would have looked a lot.
At the very end, yeah. But it was. Did you ever think the game was out of control? I did not think that at all.
Yeah, I actually did. I thought that once the Eagles went up by a score and then Miami's, comeback fell short. Yeah, definitely. I always thought the Eagles were winning that game.
I mean,
the offense wasn't
17-17
awesome.
in the fourth quarter.
It took a defensive touchdown, though, from Miami. It's not like the offense. Listen, Tyreek Hill, it's like always going to get his. And last night it was 11 receptions for 88 yards and a touchdown on 15 targets. So that's not even like the huge number, like 150 yards receiving or whatever. But he's everywhere. I thought this was a credit to Philadelphia. Come in, you're facing an opponent with this kind of an offense, and I thought the Eagles' defense was great.
But picture that Miami team. If you put Achane back in, you have a healthy Jalen Waddle, you put Jalen Ramsey at cornerback.
Yep.
Jalen Phillips keeps playing like this, and you have a quarterback who can't run away from every sack. The Eagles got a little hot. I think there's a formula where Miami's a very dangerous team. Look at the Super Bowl odds. They're kind of right behind Kansas City.
It's interesting, though, because you're going if.
There's
That's
no
a
if.
lot
There's
of
no
ifs.
if. Achane's coming back. Waddle will be healthy. Ramsey's coming back. There's no if.
Waddle.
Are you a doctor?
Since when has he been healthy?
Yeah,
for
I don't
extended
Well, I'm
periods
just
of
saying
time?
he came back in the game.
He did come back in the game, but he obviously was a little bit compromised. I know he made some catches.
But there's no if about Ramsey. These are not ifs. They have a lot of guys coming back on defense.
No, they will be coming back, or they're scheduled to come back, but we have no idea what the health situation is going to be down the stretch. Just because they get people back doesn't mean more people aren't going to get injured or different people aren't going to get injured. Listen, you just can't predict that kind of a thing.
They also have 2 guys in Waddle and Tua that are like medical red flags. I think to say, well, like Waddle will be back. I'm like, yeah, but that guy gets hurt all the time. We know Tua, unfortunately, he may be one bad hit from being concussed again. So, like the concern,
that's all true,
right? The concern about the Dolphins, I don't think necessarily is the guys, the guys that come back won't play great. Is that they could suffer more injuries.
Yeah.
I think they showed a little bit last night. You saw it at moments of the game where the pass rush was really getting home. They feel like a more complete team than they did last year because they have a lot of young pass rushers. They've been drafting defense. There's a formula where this all comes together, and they're a really tough team. Last night did not kill me at all. Tua is incredibly impressive. There's no way to argue about that. Last night, Chris Collinsworth kept comparing him to Joe Montana, and it didn't sound ridiculous.
It always sounds a little ridiculous.
A little ridiculous. Not the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, though.
Well, I mean, he's good for a couple of games, and he does a great job, obviously. We're going to try something out here this morning. So, obviously, Eagles get the big win, 31-17 last night. We're going to try to go quickly, run this hurry-up offense, if you will, around the NFL. EJ will throw us a game. Perloff and I will give you our thoughts on what we saw. And we'll use the NFL music from NFL Films.
Yes.
It's one of the greatest scores
Gets you
ever
so
created.
fired up.
Okay.
No, I hear this music and it feels only apropos. I start with two NFL Films classic teams here, though not necessarily right now. Raiders, Bears. Bears win 30-12.
This is the Tyson Bagent game. This guy is one of the great stories now from a D2 school. 3 touchdown drives to start the game. How do the Raiders ever win? They didn't win yesterday. I don't know how they will ever win another game again, because Josh McDaniels might be the worst coach in the NFL, and that's saying something. Perloff, describe to me why you, on 4th and 4 at the Chicago 9, you go for it. Then you're 4th and goal at the 6, and you kick the field goal.
It's called analytics. I bet the Devontae Adams over on yardage. They targeted him 15 times yesterday, but Brian Hoyer just could not get him the ball. This is a backup quarterback. If they have a starting quarterback, it's a different game. I think the Raiders could have won that game, but Hoyer was terrible, and I love Hoyer.
Yeah, because when you sign Jimmy G, you know you're signing up for 17 games of perfect health. Like, they only have themselves to blame for this. They should have the best backup quarterback in the league. All right,
let's go to Indianapolis. Browns with a dramatic win, 39-38 over the Colts.
They got screwed. There is no doubt about it. I don't care about – there was a play at the end where – Browns quarterback P.J. Walker fumbled the ball and they called holding or some kind of interference. The last play, the key play, there was a pass interference call when the ball was thrown basically into the stands. Clearly, they should have picked up the flag because it was an uncatchable ball. The officials who were struggling all day did not pick it up. Cleveland gets a win, but it should have been an Indianapolis win. That's a huge game because Indianapolis goes to 3-4, would have been 4-3, an impossible playoff position.
I can't give the Colts a pass here. You turned the ball over 4 times. 3 of those turned into scores for Cleveland. You had 8 different lead changes in this game. It was a wild game. The big star from the game, though, of course, is Myles Garrett.
Yeah, I mean, you turn it over to a superhero. Myles Garrett isn't human. There's no shame in that. The dude jumped over the line by 6 feet. I don't even know how he did that.
To be honest, the biggest takeaway from this game is what's going to be up with Deshaun Watson and his health the rest of the way, because he tried to give it a go. He re-injures himself maybe in the game. They didn't bring him back in. They said for precautionary reasons. Like, when are we going to see this Deshaun Watson trade actually be fruitful and a good thing for the Browns?
When he's on the field, does he look any different than the backups there?
No.
They're going to win with defense and running. I mean, honestly, the Chubb injury is the big reason here, but just let Myles Garrett win the game. You're fine.
Let's go to a game we talked plenty about in Foxborough. The Patriots with a late win over the Buffalo Bills, 29-25.
Yeah, congrats, Buffalo. You kept Mac Jones' career now, which was on life support. You've breathed life back into it. Belichick gets his 300th win. The Bills are maddeningly inconsistent on offense. They're injured on defense, and they fall to an inferior team. They deserve to lose.
Terrible win for the Patriots. They need to start over. They are in NFL limbo. This is going to hurt their lottery position. Actually, I guess you don't have a lottery. It's going to hurt their draft position. I think I got a text from our friend Sully saying he was sad, but I had a bunch of friends from Boston saying, oh, don't win this game, don't win this game, don't win this game. But the Bills couldn't help them.
Yeah.
Let's go to New York here, or at least MetLife Stadium. Giants with a 14-7 win over the Commanders, snapping the losing streak.
I don't understand the Commanders at all. They were 1 for 15 on 3rd down, and they committed 10 penalties in this game. Like, how would you ever win a game with those 2 stats, Perloff? It's impossible.
Yeah, I got to be honest. This game would come on Red Zone or something. My eyes would glaze over. It just felt like a junior varsity game. I couldn't believe 2 short quarterbacks, no offense whatsoever. First of all, the Giants should have won that game much more easily. It doesn't matter. To me, the only thing that matters here is draft position, because both teams are going to have to start over at quarterback. And I'm even saying that about the Giants. The Giants could get really bad. They should start, they should look at another quarterback, even though they're paying Daniel Jones, because I don't see the offenses doing anything.
Let's go to Tampa Bay. So we got the Falcons somehow, despite all those turnovers, beating the Buccaneers on the road 16-13.
Yeah,
that was unbelievable.
3 turnovers in the game. I 1 for 5 in the red zone. I mean, for the Falcons, just the epidemic of bad play in the red zone. But thankfully, they have a good field goal kicker, and he kicked them to a win. You're no closer here to figuring things out with Desmond Ridder, in my opinion, with the Falcons, even though you got a win today. And the weirdest thing from the game was Bijan Robinson. Nobody knew that this guy apparently was, very sick. He was on the sidelines, but he was sick and couldn't play. So fantasy owners were ticked off about that because there was no heads up that he wasn't feeling well. And for some unknown reason, they put him in the last drive of the game to get 3 yards rushing. What is going on in the NFL? I don't know.
So final score was 16-13. There's 2 key plays here. Drake London flipped into the end zone or to the 1-yard line. Probably could have called a fumble into the end zone. They did not call it. It would have been a touchback Bucs. But then Desmond Ritter's going in to seal an easy win, fumbles the ball at the inch-yard line into the end zone. Still the worst rule in football that when you fumble into the end zone, they get back. The Bucs had no right to be in this game and still should have won at the end. They had a chance. Baker Mayfield had a drive to tie it. They were rolling, should have scored the touchdown there at home. Both teams are really bad. And the Falcons should have won that game by 15 points. I don't know how they made it a field goal win.
3
they got
fumbles.
the W.
That's how you do it there.
Yeah.
It was the rout in Baltimore. The Ravens trounced the Lions 38-6.
Yeah, this one, 4 touchdowns scored by the Ravens before the Lions got a first down. This was a humbling experience for the Lions, who were riding high. The offense was all-time, and the Ravens just came in and smacked them around. And now Lamar Jackson in the MVP race has to be after an almost perfect game yesterday.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson's on fire. Todd Monken's offense came in and took a few weeks to get it down, which often happens with a new offensive coordinator. I think Lamar Jackson looks great. You know who really impressed me was OBJ. He didn't really get that many numbers. He had 5 catches for 49 yards, but early in the game when it mattered, he looked really impressive. Cover Mark Andrews, but whatever. Lions are going to be fine. This was one of these games that got out of hand early. Did you pick that game, Maggie?
I did.
Yeah.
Lions +3. It's one of those bets that's so bad, you just know it's like, all right, well, I lost this bet in the first quarter, so I'm good on this one. I don't have to pay attention anymore.
In some ways, I think those are the ones that you can live with more than the crushing.
Yes, you're right.
Close calls there. Okay, let's go to the 4 o'clock game. So we go to Los Angeles, where the Steelers beat the Rams 24-17.
Matt Canada gets a pass here. They do nothing in the first half of any game. That's when the script is supposed to be good. Look at Sean Payton and the Broncos. The Broncos are terrible, but Sean Payton can draw up some plays to get them in the end zone in the first half. The Steelers' offense is still so bad. The Rams, who are just basically a one-man team with Puka Nacua, he's my favorite player in the league. They can't sustain anything here. It's a big win for the Steelers, but it didn't make me feel better about the Steelers because their offense is still really ho-hum.
Okay, here's the thing about the Steelers. The offense, yes, you mentioned a little ho-hum, but how many more game-winning drives do we need to see from Kenny Pickett to know that this guy's got something? He's got something. Now, the defense helps it out, but he had 2 touchdowns in the second half and late in this game where the Rams were then forced to punt after. Like, the dude can put together a good drive at the end.
Yes, but wouldn't it be nice if they didn't need that good drive against a bad team? Just once, can they win in the first 3 quarters of the game? That's what great teams do. If their goal is a Super Bowl, they can't have Kenny Pickett needing to do a game-winning drive every week.
I understand it, but your defense is keeping you close, and then Pickett, even though he's not considered like a great quarterback by any stretch, does have these end-of-game moments. He did against the Ravens earlier this year, did against the Rams yesterday on the road.
That offense is terrible.
They wrote him off, but he didn't write back. Geno Smith leads the Seattle Seahawks to a home win over the Cardinals 20-10.
Yeah, this game actually did feel a lot closer. It's like the Arizona Cardinals are the new like Michael Myers. Like, you just cannot kill this team. They just keep coming back. The final score not indicative because the Cardinals couldn't score in the second half, but it did still feel like it was rather close. Geno, though, with the 2 touchdowns, did throw a pick. The biggest thing for the Seattle, and we all won't know this, when Kenneth Walker's going, they're going to be fine. 26 carries for 105 yards. They control the clock that way. That's the key for the Seahawks. It's no secret.
Yeah, it's one of those long day of football, 4 o'clock window. Arizona's wearing their all-white uniforms. Yeah, I just couldn't pay attention to this game. I could not do it. Seattle, unfortunately, gets stuck in that a lot where I think people don't really understand the Seahawks because they're so exhausted and they play all these crappy games. That was a bad game. And the Cardinals are now, it was cute early in the season that they're staying in these games.
Yep.
Now it's like, what are you doing here? They are an unwatchable team, and they're not going to beat anybody.
Well, they did show Kyler Murray approximately 100 times on the sideline, but I don't know if people actually want Murray to come back if you're a Cardinals fan. Don't you just want to get a high pick and move on with a new quarterback?
I would.
Let's go over to Denver, where Russ leads the Broncos to a 19-17 win over the Packers.
Man, to me, sorry, Perloff, this is yours.
Oh, are you kidding me? You cannot stop this Russell Wilson offense.
Yeah, right, the freight train. Yeah.
I am surprised. Okay, I knew that Sean Payton was a great play caller. He's not a good in-game coach right now. And maybe it's a team, but any challenge that he makes, I'm like, oh, he's going to lose that one. He feels like he's a little bit out of control of the game management stuff, which is surprising to me. On the other side of the ball, I think LaFleur is being exposed.
Yeah.
Jordan Love is young, and he's not playing great. But I feel like the Packers are not putting him in great positions until, it has a lot of second-half comebacks. But the first half, that offense is totally non-threatening.
Yeah, Jordan Love's just not really doing it for me. I mean, I know 2 touchdowns, but the one pick that he threw at the end was terrible. I don't know what he was looking at there in a game that's a one-score game where you're trying to mount this furious comeback.
Well, what was that play call?
Is the play call? Is it the execution? Is it the wide receivers are bad? I don't know.
That ball was in the air for forever. I mean, the safety's playing cover 2. He came all the way to the other side of the field.
Yeah, but I think they called that shot play. It was a weird call because they were driving. They were all they needed was a field goal. I'm not quite sure why they went for that. What they saw.
One other thing too. Can we just talk about Kareem Jackson?
Out of control.
Out of control. The second game of the season that he gets ejected. This was for a bad hit on Luke Musgrave. And, I mean, he's got to get suspended. I mean, good for the Broncos that P.J. Locke was his backup who ended up and came up with that big game-sealing interception that we were just talking about. But this dude is, reckless. And
he's been in the league forever, too.
He's got to get suspended.
Yeah, it's getting out of control with Kareem, and we'll talk a little bit about NFL punishments a little later in the show. But last 4 o'clock game, we had a classic AFC West rivalry game here. You got the Chiefs and the Chargers. Chiefs winning 31-17. Another one for the Fighting Swifties.
Yeah, you and I disagree on this. To me, this is a function of Taylor Swift inspiring Travis Kelce.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, what is the deal with the
that
first half?
That dance inspired him?
So he basically broke every record. He's the first guy in 5 years in any position in the league to have over 100 yards in 2 first halves in a row. He's on an all-time clip right now. He was injured early in the season, and he might top his numbers from last year. And he's 34. How else do you explain this except a young girlfriend, Maggie?
I mean, he was already considered one of the greatest tight ends ever. Now that Taylor Swift is
peaking?
here.
How is he peaking at 34?
I think it's because right now, I don't know who else Mahomes trusts besides Kelce. And
Rashee Rice,
who had a nice touchdown catch in the back of the end zone. But Kelce, for some reason, still keeps getting open. And what they always say on the broadcast is he's not running any traditional routes. So nobody knows where he's going to be. And the Chargers defense obviously has no answer for him. I mean, come on, Chargers. You got to score in the second half of a game when you have Justin Herbert. Enough with this. Enough with, Chargers having a chance to win the game at the end and Justin Herbert coming up short. The coaching is bad. He's not playing well. This is yuck. This was gross from the Chargers.
Disagree. If I look at that Chargers team, if you came away from that game and said Justin Herbert's the problem, then I'm not sure what you're seeing because that defense could not get Kansas City off the field. A defensive coach, they looked really, really bad. And the Chiefs just decided to pick them apart, and their offense never came off the field, not once.
These are the drives for the Chargers yesterday in the second half. Interception. So first of all, Kansas City fumbles, so they get the ball back in advantageous position. Interception, punt, interception.
Well, yeah, the interception was on a tip when they were down in the red zone. And the last interception, he was just desperate. It was a minute 50 left, and it was 3rd and long, and they're down by 2 touchdowns. So I don't think that was and you didn't think that defense looked terrible yesterday?
They did look terrible, but I can't we all know that Justin Herbert has the skills and the tools, but can we see it? In a meaningful moment of the game. That's all I'm asking.
Give him a different coach. Give him a defense. Give him some wide receivers that aren't sort of journeymen. Mike Williams, I know that they got the rookie out of TCU, but Mike Williams is definitely missed there. Keenan Allen's getting old. Honestly, I think the defense is a bigger problem, ironically, and Brandon Staley's a defensive coach.
Honestly, the Chargers are so lucky that the Taylor Swift Brittany Mahomes dance happen yesterday? Because it took everyone's eye off the ball of just how bad they were playing, and instead we could all turn our ire to these two chicks with this like really juvenile looking touchdown celebration.
That's true, but there are no Chargers fans, so I'm not sure that they are used to them. Like, who's going to care if the Chargers are disappointing?
All right, last one we got here. We go to Philadelphia, where you had the Eagles winning 31-17 over the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. The Kelly Green, the debate, is it worth 7 points in the spread or 15 points in the spread? They're not going to lose in that uniform. Throwback to the 90s uniform. Bradley Cooper in the stands. Mike Trout in the stands. That was an unfair spot. Anyone who judges the Dolphins after that loss, just the fact that they didn't get blown out, to me, is a win. Because Philly was feeling it last night.
Tough one for the Dolphins. You play a good defense. I know they had injuries, but the 2 good teams you've played, you've lost. The 5 bad teams you've played, you've won. So who are you really? Here's a question about these Kelly Green uniforms, because that's all I keep hearing about, is how great these Kelly Greens are.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember a couple years ago when the Boston Red Sox had this alternate uniform, the cornflower blue and yellow?
Yes.
And they started winning at the end of the season, and they asked to just keep wearing the blue and yellow ones.
Okay.
And they were able to do it.
Yeah,
I think
those
they
are
won like
sick.
5 or
those.
6 games in a row.
Yeah.
Why, if the Eagles are so unstoppable with this different shade of green, then why don't they just wear these?
That's what every fan is asking.
Yeah, I mean, beyond the Eagles, I mean, the Giants had their 2 most competitive games of the season. One was a win wearing the classic 80s, early 90s throwback uniforms.
Yeah.
All teams should go back to what they wore in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
those were the best
superior.
uniforms. The NFL figured out logos. They figured out uniforms and color schemes in the 80s and 90s. I don't know why they changed anything.
They have not improved on it since.
Nothing is improved.
So
It's really the 80s. The 90s is when things started turning south. That's when you got the Carolina Panthers in their terrible uniform and the Jaguars. The 80s, the simplicity of the 80s was what I think you like more, the throwback.
Yeah. I think early 90s, because when you get to the Jaguars and Panthers, that's like mid-90s, 95.
Yeah,
like,
the Ravens, like they came around in the 90s.
No,
Like,
not those teams.
None of that works.
Yeah.
It's the 80s. Maybe this is a nostalgia play, but I feel like the Eagles with the Kelly Green, the Patriots when they wear Pat the Patriot on their helmet, the Cardinals last night in all white. I love the 80s. I'm sorry, I love anything 80s anyway. Is this me just being an 80s nostalgia fan, or are those uniforms actually better?
no, I just don't know whose decision it is. Like where?
I think a lot of that's pre-prescribed. They decided they were doing Kelly Green in May. I'm not sure they're allowed to just switch midseason.
Yeah, which is funny though, because in baseball they did.
Yeah,
And
I
they
don't
allowed
know.
them just to switch and hang on to it because it was like a superstitious thing.
Well, in the NBA, I mean, the Knicks a couple years ago had a classic uniform that the rumor is the owner didn't like, so then they just stopped wearing them the rest of the season. That they were scheduled to wear, according to the NBA schedule, several times. They're supposed to wear it 10, 15 times that season. They wore it like twice, and then it just disappeared.
By the way, Penn State came out in their all whites against Ohio State. Was that the right move? Because to me, this kind of thing matters.
Well, that's what they wear all the time. That's their road uniform.
Yeah, but they have that dark blue too. When I felt like they were doing. No, they'll wear dark blue on the road too. That dark blue with white lettering. I'll show you. I just thought that they looked really intimidating when they came out in the all white. I'm like, oh, they're getting a home field advantage back. I'm almost positive they have a blue too. EJ, are you sure they don't?
Talking about Penn State?
Yeah, Penn State. They have a blue with white.
Yeah, I mean that's their home uniform.
But no, in the whiteout they wear all white, don't they?
No, they wear blue in the whiteout.
I thought they wore white in the whiteout.
No, they wear blue. My mom has been to many
so wrong.
whiteout games. She's a Penn State grad, so she'd be very mad if I didn't get that right.
Oh, I'm so okay. So they had to run out in the white yesterday.
Yes, they always wear white on the road. In the whiteout home games, they wear blue, but the crowd wears all white.
So what if the home team wants to wear white, like Ohio State?
That's a great question. I mean, they've not. I mean, the Big Ten has very classic uniforms, so you don't really see any of those teams kind of going off the beaten path and saying, "Hey, we're going to wear our whites at home." That doesn't happen very often.
Coming up was Penn State's loss to Ohio State, the worst loss in college football this weekend. We'll get to that in just moments. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Back on Maggie and Perloff. The song brings me back to the 90s, much like the Kelly Green uniforms of the Eagles. So, again, show surprise coming in the 9 o'clock Eastern hour. We got a gift from our good friend of the show, Sully in Vegas. Sent me something over the weekend that everybody here is just going to love. We're going to hang it up in the studio. It's going to be an incredible morale boost. I cannot wait.
Okay, hold on, though, because I know Sully.
Yeah,
and
Sully's the best.
He's awesome. But when he sends gifts, they're generally not for both of us. Like, he sent me this signed Jim Kelly football. That's awesome, but you don't get a lot of enjoyment out of that.
I'm a Jim Kelly fan, going back to the U. But this is a morale boost for everybody, probably all of America.
If it's another Carson Wentz poster, I'm not even going to waste time. I'm going to get the baseball bat and destroy it.
That'd be cool. I don't know if another Carson Wentz poster exists.
I don't know if people in the morning show are familiar.
I don't think they're printing those anymore.
I don't know if people in the morning show with our new audience are familiar with what happened with the Carson Wentz poster. Perloff brought in a blown-up copy of a SI cover, Sports Illustrated cover, that had Carson Wentz's picture on it. And it got everyone else who uses the studio so ticked off because Carson Wentz has such bad energy and mojo that we raised money, basically, and used it as a charity opportunity where we raised money and then destroyed it, like, cathartically.
Yeah, to be fair, I didn't want it in my house anymore, so I put it here as a storage space.
Yeah.
But then it made everyone so mad that I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Andrew Bogusch is here with some headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. So in the morning, Pete would know maybe better than me. I'm not sure the full story was ever told in this window, but people that were watching DA certainly saw Carson Wentz behind him. So they know it exists.
I'm sure they were ticked off just like everyone else.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
It's almost like we're trolling people just by virtue of having it up. So we destroyed it.
Why does Carson Wentz get people that mad?
Why is he not in the NFL anymore?
Same reason, probably.
Yeah, exactly. He does to us the same thing he does to general managers
and
apparently.
teammates,
yeah.
head coaches. Jalen Hurts finished Sunday Night Football with his left knee in a brace, but it did not look like a big deal.
Hurts looking. Hurts pumps. Hurts being chased. He is rolling. Still rolling. He fires the football. Complete. Across the 5. Into the end zone. A.J. Brown.
Merrill Reese on Eagles radio. Philly taking the lead there for good. Kenneth Gainwell had a TD run late in the fourth for the 31-17 final over the visiting Dolphins. That was one of A.J. Brown's 10 catches.
You know, it goes in the win column, most importantly. I like how we came out and we played. You know, we matched the intensity. You know, we played good style of football. But we still got a lot to do, still got a lot to work on.
Now, Brown knows what's up with Hurts' knee, but would not tell anybody post-game, but said he did love his QB's toughness.
Okay, little disappointed. They showed a lot of celebrities. I did not see our buddy Ryan Philippe, who was on Friday's show, in the stands. I saw Meek Mill. I saw Mike Trout. I saw Bradley Cooper. I saw, I think Castellanos was there. I did not see him. But it was a celebrity fest.
By the way, Castellanos got a game tonight.
Yeah.
There with his kid. Usually you do the victory lap after.
Oh, he's always ready, though. He's always ready.
That's true.
And he'll get a nice, I'm sure he's still asleep right now.
Right.
He'll be ready to go by 5 today. No worries.
They gave them some of those games this weekend. So, you know, they need a little bit of a break.
Right.
I don't want to make it all about Philly, but there was a big argument with our boss and myself about whether Mike Trout, it's cool to have him. He says that they should, him and his buddy Elliot Shores Park, the Eagles reporter, say, the Jumbotron should not show Mike Trout because he's on another baseball team. I completely disagree. I am fully embracing Mike Trout, the Eagles fan. I don't care that he's in the Angels. That's not a rival of the Phillies. It's fine to embrace him as a celebrity fan. What's the problem?
I think it would be different if he was actually from the city of Philadelphia. The fact that he's from South Jersey.
Same thing.
Sorry, for me, I'm talking about the outside perspective. For me, it feels a little weird. It feels like if there was some guy from, I don't know, Westchester that kept showing at Knicks games all the time.
Why? That's not okay?
That's on a different football team or a different... Yeah, that'd be weird.
South Jersey is more Philly than Philly.
Yeah.
South Jersey is the beating heart of the Philadelphia
All right.
Eagles.
Well, I'm sure everyone in the country appreciates this kind of geography lesson. But here's the thing. I actually am going to agree with you, Perloff. I think that if you are a known fan of a team, and it's not like he's showing up at Phillies games
he can't
to
be there
root on
tonight.
the Phillies.
Right.
He's showing up to Eagles games. I think that's totally fine. The question is he bringing in the loser energy with him?
Yes.
No, here's the thing. He's a man with no team, in a sense. Like Mike Trout, it does not have an identity as an Angel because the Angels can't win anything. If he was Aaron Judge, it'd be totally different. I would not show Aaron
Judge showing up at the 49ers game, I think people would think is cool.
I think people say the most fun thing about Mike Trout's entire career is his cheering at an Eagles game. Nothing fun happens with the Angels. I mean, they are a snake-bitten franchise, unfortunately.
However, you really got to, I'll credit Mike Trout because he really does stick to his guns. It's not like, LeBron James who has like 100
Cowboys,
different...
Browns.
Or Taylor Swift.
Rams.
Should probably be an Eagles fan.
Yeah, like Trout's not at a Chargers game all of a sudden rooting on Justin Herbert.
And also, a lot of these owners own teams that are outside of the market that they usually are
That's
in.
true.
So,
oh, wait. I'm sorry. I do have to call out one friend I thought was a little fraudulent. Did you guys see Michael Phelps throwing out the first game at the Diamondbacks game?
Big fraud.
Dude, that guy is totally Baltimore all the time. I was surprised.
All right, he totally hung that slider up there. I would have crushed that ball.
Sure.
Yes, absolutely.
And then when Harper homered, he was looking at Michael Phelps and Durant and Devin Booker. They were all sitting in the same place. I thought he was looking at the
dugout, which he's now doing all the time. I don't know why he was looking at everybody like that.
Well,
the Phillies were fine.
Durant's got to be a Nats fan, right?
I mean, you'd think, just like you would have thought Michael Phelps would be an Orioles fan, but who knows?
Well, with Durant,
maybe Durant's
did Durant
an Orioles
have
fan.
the Nationals when he was growing up? He might be an Orioles fan.
Might, I mean, he's from Maryland, so.
Yeah, and the Nationals are a newer team. Maybe his family like the Orioles. But, you got to support the hometown team. I think if you're a Phoenix Sun, you have to root for the Diamondbacks. That's forgivable.
No, see, that's where I kind of appreciate Jalen Hurts. Remember when Jalen Hurts was in Philly, showed up with the Astros jersey on, and he was just like, listen, I'm from Houston. I can appreciate that.
It's my team, so I didn't like it.
Dolphins QB Tua Tagovailoa threw for a score and a crucial pick last night. His offense has now scored just 30 points in its 2 losses.
It's tough when you come on the road against a really good team and you're not able to execute the way you expected to execute, not execute the way we wanted to execute. But you got to give props to those guys and their coaching staff.
That INT came at the Philly goal line with Miami still down just 7 points.
Not his fault, by the way.
The Dolphin loss, just the Eagles are too good defensively?
No, 2 receivers ran into the same place. There was something happened with Waddle and Mostert where they ran the wrong route, so Waddle's cornerback came over and picked the ball. That was totally not.
And the second time that happened, because early in the game, he completed a pass.
Yeah, I know.
And it was Mostert being too close to, I think, Tyreek Hill that time.
No, but even the announcer said, like, one of the receivers ran the wrong route. So there were too many Eagles defenders in the same spot. I'm now a huge Tua fan. I just want to get that on the record. Tua was unbelievable last night.
Yeah, I mean, Tyreek dropped a touchdown pass on that slant.
Yeah, as Maggie said, he was running too fast.
He was running so fast, his knee knocked the ball out of his hand. It's not a problem that regular people have.
The Dolphin loss does take a little sting out of the Bills' 29-25 loss to the Patriots. Bill Belichick is finally the 3rd head coach with 300 career wins. Baltimore is 5-2 like Miami after throttling Detroit 38-6. Lions head coach Dan Campbell letting the beating soak in.
It's here. It happened. It'll motivate us moving forward. And the shame would be if we don't use this to get better for next week and it bleeds over into the Raiders. That would be the ultimate shame.
As you've already
Don't worry, it won't.
As you already heard this morning, Lamar Jackson accounted for 4 touchdowns in that Ravens win. Tonight, it's the Niners in Minnesota. No Deebo Samuel for San Francisco, but Christian McCaffrey is expected to play. Samuel has a hairline fracture in a shoulder. Will miss next weekend as well. The baseball postseason was basically drama-free until now. The ALCS is going the distance after the Rangers' 9-2 win in Houston last night. Texas finally ran away with a 5-run ninth, including a grand slam from Adolis Garcia. Bruce Bochy not surprised his team's still alive.
We've talked about this so many times. During the season, we've had our ups and downs. I mean, we've had some tough streaks, injuries, but these guys keep getting up and they keep bouncing back, and it's about being resilient in this game.
And then he cracked open a can of sarsaparilla.
Steve Austin.
Yeah, wow.
Last night's win came after 3 straight losses at home. Game 7 begins at 7 Central. The Phillies can win the NL pennant, will win the NL pennant in Game 6 with the D-backs at 5 Eastern.
Let's go.
Oklahoma City Thunder center Steven Adams will miss the season, needing surgery for a right knee injury that happened at the end of last season. Rest and rehab did not fix it. Alex DeBrincat with 3 goals in the Red Wings' 5th straight win, 6-2 over Calgary, and Christopher Bell won the NASCAR postseason race at Homestead, Miami, clinching his spot in the championship race next month. Guys, back to you.
Bogus, thank you.
You had a really interesting tweet, Maggie, on the Twitter that Tyreek Hill and Tua, if things went right and the Dolphins had this incredible record, could they split the MVP? Because I have to ask you, who's the MVP on that team in your mind? Or is it totally 50-50?
I want to say that it's Tua, but I think that Hill allows them to do everything, right?
Yeah.
Like Hill's the reason why they can get the ball to everyone else because you have to give him so much attention.
Yeah, I mean, he could have he's on pace for the first 2,000-yard season of all time. But I like your idea of sharing it. Why not just give it to both of them?
Remember, we used to do that. Guys used to share MVPs and stuff all the time. They don't really do that anymore.
Willie Stargell and Keith Hernandez, I remember in baseball. But this is such a funny situation, too. I think you could say the same. Who's the MVP of the Chiefs offense this year? Is it Travis Kelce or Mahomes?
Well, they'll always give
Taylor
that to
Swift.
Mahomes. Yeah, according to Perloff, it's Taylor because they play so much better when she's there.
The numbers?
Like they're not a dynasty, basically.
I don't know,
on their own.
108 yards per game when she's there, 46 when she's not. That's analytics, Maggie. That's fact.
Science.
That's science about Taylor Swift's presence.
Science.
It's also chivalry.
What?
Pop star analytics.
I think the defense is in on it because they don't seem to cover Travis Kelce. There's no contested catches. He's always standing there wide open.
How is he still all wide open all these years later?
You think the Chargers trying to get him some action?
The Chargers defense, their defensive backs,
Let them
they
show
must
off.
have been staring at the booth wondering what Taylor, they were not watching the Chiefs receivers.
I think they're just the Chargers. I think that's what happens.
Once again, science.
Yeah.
Did anyone else kind of feel bad for Mahomes' kid? Brittany's holding the baby and they're there dancing. I'm like, man, this kid's catching shrapnel. It's not like he can be anywhere else. He can't walk.
Speaking of catching shrapnel, you saw who else was in that booth?
I sure did.
Jackson Mahomes.
You do not. Taylor
Standing
Swift's
right
people.
behind Taylor Swift.
I didn't see him.
Taylor Swift's people must have not been thrilled about that. First of all,
Or didn't know. I feel like that'd be a thing they would say she can't be in the same thing as him.
I
they
think
should write that into her contract.
no. What their contract? Her and Kelsey's
Yeah,
like
the
handshake
NFL,
agreement.
whatever deal she's got going with the NFL, got to get Jackson out of there.
Honestly, that's like her PR or whatever. She's been so clean, like crystal clear.
Mhm.
They've got to vet this, right?
Well, she did date that guy from the 1975 who was pretty politically incorrect.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
Yeah, that guy. That was another miss. All right,
Yeah,
that's
she
two.
might not be on top of the PR stuff. One thing, EJ, I saw Jackson Mahomes at the Super Bowl last year. That dude is a legit 6'5".
Oh,
he's
he's a
gigantic.
giant.
You could tell in the box he was towering over Taylor last night.
Yeah, he's an absolute giant. But yeah, I saw Jackson Mahomes standing right behind her, slapping five and cheering. I'm like, ooh, I don't think we'll see that next week.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely don't want that kind of bad mojo.
So is she going to every game now? Do we know what the schedule is? It feels
We know
like
their
a
schedule.
regular
Yeah,
thing.
stand by.
So they go to Denver next week. She's
That's
not
a no.
going.
That's a no.
Wants to be at that one.
But they host the Dolphins November 5th.
That's
a
in play.
hard yes.
Yeah.
But are we getting close to her leaving for the European portion of this tour?
Thank God. Anyway, we still have games in Europe. They're playing the Dolphins. No, that Dolphins game is in Germany.
That's right. That's the Germany game.
Oh, she'll be there for
Does it
sure.
coincide with a show in Munich or something?
Oh, she'll definitely. I'll bet this all might be about promoting the film in Germany.
You need this much publicity to promote a movie that's selling out anyway and would have sold out anyway just because you're who you
International
are?
box office, that's where you get rich, Maggie.
Yeah, I know, because Travis Kelce's doing a lot to goose your international numbers.
She's gotten an ad with 30 million people watching her every week. Where was she going to get 30 million people to see her on TV every week?
I know, but if she keeps doing these dumb dances, it's going to really backfire on her.
She's got November 9th. The tour resumes in Argentina. She's in South America and then Asia. Oh, no, that's only for November is South America. And then Asia is next February.
And they're not dumb dances, they're awkward dances.
Yeah, thank you.
Get that right.
So she's back in play as of December for those Chiefs games.
Great.
And there were people who said that.
So thrilled.
Lucky us.
There were people who said he was going to go to South America with her. He was going to leave the Chiefs. That was a gossip thing last week. People were like, he's definitely not going to abandon the Chiefs in November to go to Buenos Aires.
Honestly, is this like the Bulls' last dance and he's Dennis Rodman all of a sudden, or he just needs to go to Vegas for 2 weeks to blow off steam?
I mean, you get
in the middle of the season?
If you have a Tuesday off, could he get down to Buenos Aires? It's only 20 hours away.
But actually, there's no time change really, right? When you're flying south. So at least it's a long plane ride. You don't have to worry about like jet lag or whatever.
I know. When I think of places that are really easy to get in and out of, I think Argentina.
Yeah, did my honeymoon there. Longest flight of my life. It's so far away.
Bogusch, thank you so much. Coming up, has one NFL experiment already failed? We'll get to that in a moment. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Today's Monday Night Football preview is sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, we got Niners and Vikings in Minnesota. Brock Purdy and company trying to get back on the winning track following a 19-17 loss in Cleveland in Week 6. San Fran's a 6.5-point favorite on FanDuel. The Vikings are off to a disappointing 2-4 start with Justin Jefferson sideline and trade questions on quarterback Kirk Cousins. I can't wait for this game because I would love to see the Eagles' main competition in the NFC, the Niners, stumble while their players are hurt, but it feels like 6.5 points. I am not totally sure we'll get a competitive game here.
Well, I mean, it's Kirk Cousins in prime time. What are we expecting?
That's a great point.
I just, at some point, there's just too much evidence for this to not be true. It's got to be something about his routine getting disrupted or something, right?
Yeah, and also the wheels on the Viking season feel like they're real wobbly. Yeah, they can beat a couple really bad teams, but it all is about to fall apart.
And I don't see him getting traded.
No, I don't either. And also, I think it's hard to trade for a quarterback midseason and teach him the offense. So even if it was a perfect situation, I'm not sure he gets traded.
I think you'd hear a little more heat around it, you know? And the fact that he came out and said he doesn't want to, like, potentially wouldn't trade it, waive his no trade clause, that's probably not a good sign. Okay, so yesterday you had this wild game, 8 different lead changes, where the Cleveland Browns ultimately prevail over the Colts with their backup quarterback, Gardner Minshew, Perloff, who turned the ball over 4 times. But Deshaun Watson started the game, threw about 5 passes, and then had his shoulder hurt. Now, he was and had to get cleared for a concussion as well. He did get cleared for the concussion, but when they came back from the TV broadcast said he's sitting out for precautionary reasons, but they're not going to rule him out in case something happens to PJ Walker and he has to come back in. Like, that's got to be a little bit frustrating to hear if you're a Browns fan, because so far this trade has been terrible for you. I mean, Deshaun Watson has done absolutely zero. He's only played in 10 games. If he's available to go in, go in.
All that is very true. He's been really bad. He's got no rhythm whatsoever. It looks like he hasn't played in 3 years because he hasn't really played in 3 years. So the issue is, if the Browns make the playoffs, I do not feel like the Browns are going to focus on the negative of the Deshaun Watson deal. And there's a chance this defense is good enough to get them to the playoffs. So say they're 11-5 or 11-6, sorry. Do you think people are going to be like, oh man, I'm so mad we traded for Deshaun Watson? That's not going to be the energy around this, even though he hasn't done anything.
Okay, but there is no chance they're going to win a playoff game if he's playing like this, if he's playing this poorly. And to be honest,
I don't know if that's true, because Myles Garrett is a force right now.
I know, but you're going to be going against much better quarterbacks than Gardner Minshew, who you needed everything just to beat him today. I mean, that's the other thing about Deshaun Watson. You're saying, gosh, he's been away from football so long, like kind of implying that he needs more time just to get ready. I mean, Michael Vick went to prison and came back and was actually a good quarterback and representative. I mean,
took a while.
Talk about a stressful moment and you're coming back in your career. I mean, Deshaun Watson had stressful moments, obviously, with the allegations against him. I mean, at some point, you got to play again. At some point, you got to look good again.
Yeah, Michael Vick, it took a couple years. People remember he was a bench player in Philly. So,
I know, but they had to bring him back as a bench player. Deshaun's had the starting job ever since he came off suspension.
How many games has he actually played?
10.
10 games. It's not a lot.
He could have played 23, and he's played 10. That's the other thing, too, about the best ability is availability. It's such a cliche, but, man, when you're paying that much for a guy.
Well, okay. There's no debate about was he worth $230 million. We're not really going to do that. I think that falls into the Captain Obvious realm, that Deshaun Watson has not been worth $230 million. The question is, are we going to look at this at the end of the year as one of the all-time great, terrible signings? If they make the playoffs, that kind of takes the edge off that argument in my mind.
Okay, were you trading 3 first-round picks and giving this guy all the money in the world to just make the playoffs, or were you doing that so you turn into a Super Bowl contender?
This franchise has made the playoffs how many times?
They've never had a quarterback like this.
So they've made the playoffs once in 15 years. I think the bar is lower than you think. I don't think Browns fans are expecting a Super Bowl right now. I think they'd be thrilled to make the playoffs this year.
But you got to think, Perloff, if they go to the playoffs and Watson plays like this and they're playing a high-stakes game, you think Browns fans are going to be okay with him putting up a 10 for 21 or 10 for 22 against an elite team?
No, of course not. But it'd be a lot worse if they were Russell Wilson and the Broncos and they were 3-13. Then I think Browns fans would be furious.
Coming up, your thoughts on the Browns, 855-212-4CBS. Also, the biggest lesson we learned last night. We'll get to that in just moments. Maggie Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's destined to get knocked out by Jake Paul. She's destined to film it. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Yeah, we are. New morning show here on CBS Sports Radio. Got a bit of a thriller last night, a game that ended up being kind of close. Perloff's Eagles end up winning and beating the Miami Dolphins. And listen, it's this play. It's this tush-push, brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it. Takes all the drama off of these fourth down conversions, and it was a huge one, Perloff, that kept a scoring drive alive for your Philadelphia Eagles that ultimately was the go-ahead score, and Philadelphia never looked back.
Yeah, to borrow a line from ESPN's Mina Kimes, it's like they have 1st and 9 instead of 1st and 10
Yeah, right.
Because all they have to do is get within 1 yard. The funny thing, that key one they made at the end to seal the win, Jalen Hurts looked like he could have run for 7 yards. Somehow, if the defense chooses the wrong side, then Jalen Hurts makes it easily. And if they choose the right side, he still muscles his way into it. It's an unstoppable play. The NFL's desperately trying to stop it. They can't do it.
And Jalen Hurts also had to play the second half with a knee brace on, but you really couldn't tell by his performance. But it is something to watch moving forward with the Eagles going to 5-2. And then on Miami's side of things, I mean, they're 5-0 against teams with a combined, I believe it's 8-24 record. 8-25 record. So they're beating the bad teams when they play good teams. And I know they were shorthanded last night because they lost a couple offensive linemen. But when you're playing the good teams, we're not seeing, we're seeing yards. We're seeing Miami be able to move the ball, but we're not seeing the impressive scores because they get stalled at times in the red zone.
Yeah, but I think you really have to excuse. I've been doing a lot of this. Excuse this loss. It's on the road at night against the Eagles, who are much closer to fully healthy than the Dolphins were. I saw a lot of good signs. I mean, Tua is smoking. There's just no way that he is really in sync with that offense.
Yep.
What killed them was they couldn't run the ball. So do they get that back when Achane comes back from injury, which he is coming back?
No, I think that was the Eagles. I think that's the Eagles' defense. Yeah. I don't think it matters if it was been, Achane or Mostert or Barry Sanders back there. I think this Eagles front is that good.
That's funny because I actually thought the Dolphins missed Achane. It's, and they definitely missed. When Waddle went out, then things totally slowed down for them. When they're at full, it's going to be hard because I don't know if they'll ever be fully healthy. But when they're at full steam, there's so many ways for that offense to move the ball. I'm actually a little higher on the Dolphins after that game, believe it or not. I would upgrade them. And I know that Vegas agrees with me. Like, they're in the mix. They are not far off where they want to be.
No, they shouldn't be far off, and they are getting weapons back on defense. But at the same time, we're getting to the sample size now where they had offensive linemen who were hurt, but when they're playing bad teams, it doesn't matter, right? You can still win the game if you don't have Teron Armstead.
Yeah.
We were playing against a bad team. When you're playing against the Eagles, it is harder to run the ball when your offensive line is banged up and you're facing a good defense. It's like, how good are you really?
Yeah, but you put Jalen Ramsey on A.J. Brown last night. Get Achane back in the game, have Waddle healthy, bring back another pass rusher or two. There are reasons to be excited. There's obviously talent there.
Clearly. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. We go to Phil, who's in Pennsylvania. Good morning, Phil. How are you?
I am wonderful, guys. Today's my birthday. Couldn't be better. If you thought it was loud last night, just wait for tonight. It's going to be even louder in Philly.
Happy birthday. We'll see what the Phillies have in store for you for a birthday present.
Well, thank you. Well, I think that if they ever do outlaw the brotherly shove, do you think it's a possibility that the Eagles might be able to still play from the Chicago Bears and put Jordan Mailata in to pound it in like he used to do, with his previous rugby experience? I think that'd be a really, another unstoppable play, just like the brotherly shove. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
Phil, I think they need to use it. They need to use it anyway. Mailata coming downhill. I'm a huge fan of offensive linemen having the ball in their hands.
Is this like
a do it.
Refrigerator Perry situation?
That's what Phil is suggesting, and I'm all for it. I love when there's a play where for some random reason an offensive lineman gets to pick up the ball and run with it. Half the time it's illegal. It's the best.
How about this? If they outlaw the brotherly shove, why don't you just do the quarterback sneak? I mean, to be honest, Tom Brady is not the most athletic person we have. He's the greatest winner we've had, but he's not super athletic, and it always worked with Brady.
It's amazing.
Always.
Why do some teams get the quarterback sneak every time and other teams are terrible at it? Yesterday, we saw a team trying the brotherly shove, and it's not working. Mac Jones somehow lost 3 yards on a quarterback sneak. I don't even know how he did that.
It's the difference in the NFL is the people who can do the quarterback sneak or the teams who you're 4th and inches and the quarterback's in shotgun.
It's the worst.
I don't understand.
College, they're doing that all over college football too. I don't understand it.
Well, for some reason, in college, it's like illegal to be under center. I have no idea why no one ever is, except for, I guess, like Iowa. 855-212-4CBS. So let's turn our attention to college. Of course, you're welcome to weigh in on the NFL. The worst loss of the weekend from college.
To me, this is obvious after this weekend. The North Carolina Tar Heels cannot handle success. They cannot handle being a top 10 team. How you lose to a 1-5 Virginia team that never beats anybody in the ACC, and you have Drake May at quarterback, and you can't score basically the entire fourth quarter. They were online to face Florida State in the ACC title game. It still might happen. They still could make the conference title game and get to the Final Four. But this was the year North Carolina felt a little different. And guess what? It's the same program that we've seen for 2 decades.
Man, I did not think, for as good as North Carolina had been and for Drake May, I did not see them as a Final Four team. I feel like there are clearly better teams than them, which is why I'm not going to put them as my biggest loss of the weekend. No,
why would you not see them as a Final Four team?
Well, because I think Florida State's much better.
Ooh, Florida State will mix it up with anybody. Florida State will be in a close game with anybody they play. But go ahead.
I think the worst loss of the weekend, I'm not even going to go to Penn State here, which you could easily say Penn State, are they frauds? They shouldn't be considered a top-tier team in the Big Ten. I think USC has got to feel awful about themselves waking up today. This is your 3rd loss for Lincoln Riley against Kyle Whittingham and the Utah Utes. You mount this comeback where you think you're going to come back and win the game. That ends up falling short. You now have 2 losses, so goodbye college football playoff, goodbye all of that stuff. Now I guess you can play spoiler maybe at the end of the year. But you had Caleb Williams. This was going to be one of the golden opportunities here with a one-time Heisman Trophy winner looking for the second one. And the opportunity gets totally squandered. Like, this has got to be a devastating loss for USC. And of course, now we get rumors and insiders covering the team for the Trojans telling you that Lincoln Riley could have 1 foot out the door to go to the NFL. Like, just brutal if you're a Trojan fan.
Absolutely. I mean, they should have saw this loss coming. Caleb Williams scored with way too much time left on the clock at the end of the game, and you knew Utah, because they own USC, was going to come back.
With a backup quarterback, by the way.
Yeah.
Cam Rising has been ruled out for the year.
Their 3rd string quarterback. So, actually, a guy who was on the couch like a month ago. I don't even know who that guy was, but he played pretty tough. The thing about USC preseason, there was something funny about USC. What was their ranking? They were about 12, 13 in the country. And you said to yourself, how could a team with a Heisman Trophy winner not be top 5, returning that Heisman Trophy winner? I think everyone knew there was something flawed with the design of this team. And it's still the same thing. They are not tough, and they don't play defense. I thought Caleb Williams was fine on Saturday night. I think he's still...
No touchdowns, though.
He's still utterly spectacular. And he's very efficient, too. And part of the reason is they scored in other ways. So I don't think Caleb Williams is any part of the problem. I think it's defense, but I think it's overall toughness. And I hate to say it, I'm going to draw a through line to Oklahoma and Lincoln Riley. I'm not sure, and that maybe I fooled myself. I'm not sure he's designed to win a college football title because it doesn't seem like his teams have that that Alabama thing or that Georgia thing. I'm just not sure they're tough enough.
Yeah, I think it's actually fair to question the toughness now, and they seem like all college football coaches are a bit sensitive, but it does seem like they are a bit sensitive, banning reporters and stuff like that, and did not make anyone available after the game. Now, that's, I think, a little bit more forgivable because they are college students. I know they're basically professional athletes, but they are still in college. But you got to make somebody available after the game. Caleb Williams, listen, you got much more difficult times ahead. If you're going to be the number 1 overall pick and you're going to the Chicago Bears, believe me, it's not going to be a picnic wherever you go. And I think that he's savvy enough that he should be able to stand out there after you lose in double overtime. I know it's crushing. You should be able to stand up there and answer some questions. Am I being unfair?
No, I mean, I think to me also with Lincoln Riley, I mean, it's funny. He had this aura as being almost like this Hollywood coach going to Hollywood and it was going to be perfect. But he looks so much like a fish out of water as the head coach of USC in the Los Angeles market right now. And it feels like it's the weight of that is really starting to show.
Yeah.
Whether it's the banning reporters, whether how they handled the post game after that loss. And it's really crazy considering he looked like someone straight out of casting when he was hired to be the head coach of USC. It looks like it couldn't be any worse of a personality fit.
Here's the thing. It's a great point. And also, do we think he'd be successful in the NFL level? Like, does he look like he's this all-time great leader? I mean, you're talking about now it's professional athletes who you got to get the attention of, right? A little bit different than college athletes, a little more mature, a little older. Do you think he's going to be able to connect with that kind of locker room? I have no idea.
Well, I think the NFL is built differently too, because the NFL, is not college. You're basically given a roster by your GM, and he could get help on some of the things he's not getting help in college. Say he's Sean McVay on offense. Sean McVay doesn't really do much on defense. So what if he came in at Vic Fangio, or Vic Fangio got torched last night, but it was a great defensive coordinator. Could the NFL make up for some of his shortcomings? I feel like he might be a better fit there.
Yeah, but at some point you got to be the CEO of the team, don't you? Like that, we're talking about the toughness quality, and if the team takes on the identity of the coach, well, you can't just pawn off everything if you're the head coach. It can't just be, we'll take the identity of our defensive coordinator or our best player. I mean, at some point the coach has to stamp his imprint on the team.
Also, where are these great examples of these quote unquote college football offensive geniuses that have worked out on the NFL level recently? We saw Matt Rule be a disaster. We saw Joe Brady as an offensive coordinator be a disaster. Like I would be very scared if I was an NFL team and my team was plucking the next college football guru offensively. It just seems like it's an entirely different sport when we combine college football and the NFL and how they're played.
Well, the analogy that obviously Cliff Kingsbury is basically the same career as Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
And
he's at USC now.
Had a little success with Arizona. I mean, at least they made the playoffs. That wasn't as big. And Matt Rule was not an offensive guy. Yeah.
I don't think they crossed the 30-yard line in that playoff game. But again, the Rams ended up winning the Super Bowl that year.
But the Cardinals were completely injured for that game too.
So, yeah, it's interesting though because the report was a little bit more like Lincoln Riley would want to go wherever Caleb Williams goes. Are we sure Caleb Williams still wants to be coached by Lincoln Riley when he gets to the NFL level?
I've seen Caleb Williams look pretty good to me on Saturday night. He had very few incompletions, kind of tiptoed into the end zone for what he thought was the winning touchdown. I think you could do worse. I think he likes Lincoln Riley a lot. He followed him to USC.
17-5 Lincoln Riley is as USC.
And it feels like with the way
same record as Clay Helton.
With the way they coach quarterbacks, I mean, if I was Caleb Williams, I'd want to play with Lincoln Riley. I don't know how many wins I'm going to have, but you know how much stats I'm going to put up? Like, they let their quarterbacks play hero ball, and they let them be the center of the universe. So in many ways, I could see why he'd want to play for that guy, even if it doesn't mean I'm going to win a lot of championships.
That's the attitude.
I mean,
that's the attitude you want for your franchise quarterback. I don't care about the wins. It's all about my stats.
But Lincoln's quarterbacks have been okay. Jalen Hurts has been great. Baker Mayfield has been mixed. Kyler Murray, which I think better than some people thought. So there has been some success in the NFL. I mean, Lincoln hasn't been coaching them, but I think I agree with EJ. I think if an offensive guru has a lot of value to a quarterback, you don't want to go with Matt Eberflus. I'd take Lincoln Riley in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I love it. Let's take credit for Kyler Murray. This is under the great tutelage. He needed a homework clause.
And to quickly talk about worst losses, I think we'd be remiss not to mention, I know they're not ranked.
Yeah.
But Clemson losing on the road to Miami. Clemson now with 3 losses. Miami was missing their starting quarterback and their starting running back. They turned the ball over 3 times in the first half, to the point where the reporter on the sidelines asking Dabo Swinney, hey, how do you turn this around? He's like, hold on to the dang ball. Like, that's how bad things have gotten. And just watching Clemson play, they look like such a poorly coached team.
Yep.
And for a guy who's a multi-time national championship coach, it's kind of dumbfounding to watch them play football right now. They look badly coached.
Do you remember last week when he said, I think we need to lose a couple games so that we can lighten up the bandwagon a little bit? I mean, I didn't realize that'd be a premonition.
Mission accomplished. By one more loser. Michael Penix probably threw away the Heisman this weekend. But that was coming. That's called an emotional letdown if you've ever seen one in your life.
No doubt. Let's go to the phones. 855-212-4CBS. Jay is in Nashville. Good morning, Jay. How's it going?
Man, I'm just out here trying to get my hands on a McGriddle, and he's got police out here with AR-15s drawn at a hotel. Like, they're gone now, but we couldn't even get into McDonald's. Like, dude, it's too early in the morning for this. What the hell is going on? But I'm mad that I fell asleep before the Kelly Green game. I wanted to see the Kelly Green, dude. It's just to see the uniforms, it's worth just staying up and watching it, man. I don't know. I just had a long day yesterday. That's all it is. But I missed Kelly Green, and y'all talking about USC and Lincoln Riley rumors and stuff like that. I mean, maybe Lincoln is leaving with Caleb. You know what I mean? Maybe Chicago calling both of them.
Yeah, that's a report.
I think that's what Lincoln is hoping for. I think he's looking for an exit out of USC, and I think he wants to go with Caleb because he's so talented.
Yeah, we don't know if those reports are true. By the way, how did you get the McGriddle?
Yeah.
It's my favorite breakfast food in the world.
I got the McGriddle, but I mean, even the cop was sitting there talking about, I'm like, what's going on? They're like, well, somebody got shot at that hotel over there. I stay in Franklin, Tennessee. Like, I stay down the street from the Lamborghini dealership. All right.
Yeah.
And like, so it's not like it's the hood or whatever, but I guess somebody woke up with a dude named Jody and didn't turn her GPS off her phone, and somebody was able to come find her or whatever, and somebody got shot. That's all I can say.
Oh, my goodness.
At a hotel this early in the morning.
It's not even 10 a.m.
Say what?
I said it's not even 10 a.m. It's not even 9 a.m. where you are.
That means you woke up with a dude named Jody. You forgot to turn your alarm on because you ain't supposed to wake up this late with another man at a hotel. And that, probably your man woke up like, where is she at?
Oh, my gosh.
And you left your GPS on your phone, and then one thing turned into another. But that's neither here nor there.
Serious case of the Mondays.
Football.
Ah, well, I said that's a serious case of the Mondays. I hope that
the whole intersection blocked off, and they said, it was a helicopter out here too. So it's kind of like, dude, I'm just trying to get to my McGriddle, bro. Like, come on, man. But like getting back to the whole like Chicago thing and like Lincoln Riley and everything. A lot of people don't understand about USC. And I grew up a Pac-10 boy, a Pac-10 before it was Pac-12. Everybody knows USC. Like, more coaches than most go to USC to fail. People don't realize that. They think it's like some dream job in Hollywood. No. I mean, in my lifetime, I've only seen one coach go to USC and succeed, and that's your boy that's in Seattle right now.
Yeah.
Besides that, USC has sucked all my life, tell you the truth. And I'm 49.
Jay, and I think you're looking at it
before I was alive.
Jay, and they were one of the most dominant teams. Jay, thank you for the call, and keep us updated on what's going on with that. I was Googling around to see if I see anything, but it hasn't hit the internet yet.
I have so many questions. Wait, is Jody a man or a woman? That there was conflicting evidence on it. That's an incredible story. The McGriddle, everything about it.
Imagine just like you see cops, everyone's got guns drawn, and Jay's there just like, can I get a breakfast sandwich? Like, guy.
I respect his perseverance. As soon as I see the cops and I see the guns, I'm saying, all right, I guess we're going to get a Wendy's breakfast or a Taco Bell breakfast.
No. Once you get
to go to?
Once you get the McGriddle on your mind, it is tough to get it off there. I totally understand.
I know, and it's weird because there's never another McDonald's around. Like, there's 100 McDonald's all around. You can just go to a different one.
I have a sad confession. I've never tried a McGriddle.
I treat myself rarely to McGriddle. It is the greatest breakfast food ever.
But I blame my parents. I feel like my dad once tried it when I was a kid, and he said, "Oh, it was overrated. I didn't like it," and then I never tried it.
No, he was just helping you so you didn't get addicted to McGriddles.
Oh, that's true.
Because once you put that maple syrup on the pancakes and the sausage, it's like every great flavor combined.
Wait, EJ, you're 32 years old. You can't be blaming your parents on this one.
No, but when it comes to food, like if once something gets in my head that is not good, like that's all I need to know. Like I'm very much. I know I kind of present myself as a foodie online, but like someone can tell me, hey, this was whack or this was lame. I'm like, all right, that's all I need to know. I don't want to taste bad food.
Wait a minute. You're a journalist at heart. You can't take people's word for it. You got to try it yourself.
No, with food, food I think is different because food can lead to, trips to the bathroom.
Oh.
Food can lead to a lot of different things that go wrong.
It's Mickey D's, I mean.
It's not White Castle, but it's still in that spectrum.
It's going to have different effects on different people. I personally just go for the Egg McMuffin.
Yeah.
We're not even sponsored by McDonald's, by the way. We're just giving free stuff here. I prefer it, the McMuffin.
That's your choice, I guess. Have you tried a McGriddle lately?
Yeah, well, not lately, but...
By the way, Jay's totally right. USC is famously, they never pay for coaches. Like, except for Pete Carroll, they cheap out on coaches. So Lincoln Riley was their one exception. He was supposed to fix everything. And after this, they're going back to the Clay Helton type. They're like, that's enough of this.
Well, with Pete, they got a good ROI. They were ranked number one for 33 weeks in a row.
Right, but they didn't. You remember where Pete Carroll was coming from? It wasn't Pete Carroll that we know now.
That's true.
He was a failed Pete Carroll who they kind of got. Because I think Pete Carroll called them. They didn't even call him. So that is a weird program. There's something that's always been a little bit off since the heyday. And I kind of thought, I thought Lincoln Riley was going to fix it all. I was high on this Caleb Williams. You're right. I think your negativity is exactly dead on. I'm not sure where they're going.
Who had the worst college football loss of the weekend? 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. You're welcome to weigh in. We see you guys on the phones. We'll get to that. Coming up, the NFL is cracking down on the one thing no one is asking for. What is it? We'll tell you next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, sponsored by AutoZone. All season long, you can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone restrictions apply. Welcome back to the Maggie and Perloff Show. Now, if you're new to us, we're now in the morning, 6 to 10 Eastern. Let me give you a little visual tour of the studio. So on Maggie's side, you have a 22 Bills jersey, which is, Maggie?
Fred Jackson.
Of course. You
Freddie
say that
J.
like we all know that.
Yeah.
There's a Bills banner here of old Bills helmets. Yeah. On my side...
Wait, you forgot the Jim Kelly signed football.
Jim Kelly signed football.
I also have, someone gave me a Buffalo Bills smoke detector. I think it glows in the dark. I'm not sure who did that, so thank you.
Goes off all day?
What's that?
Does it go off all day?
Only when I have bad takes. And then also me and my Duck uniform.
Love it. Yeah. My side is rather barren now because the Carson Wentz poster was violently removed from my side of the studio. There's a picture of a tweet I had. I wish someone loved me as much as Shaq loves Joel Embiid. That became a thing on NBA and TNT. That was super fun. But there is sort of a lack of sports paraphernalia. Now, this is going to seem like just something for my side of the studio, but I think it's for everybody.
Okay.
Our friend Sully in Las Vegas, good friend of the show, calls in all the time. He's a Boston sports fan, but I think he supports the Maggie and Perloff Show first and foremost. So he sent us a gift. Would anyone like to care to guess what it is?
Oh, no.
I mean, based on your glee,
yeah,
you're not going to like it, so it's probably like a Randall Cunningham jersey or something.
No, it's probably like a Bryce Harper. I think it's probably a Bryce Harper jersey or something. Like Sully.
Is it Liam Castellanos?
In a box. It's a little kid. Sully has great taste, but you're too happy about this.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. It's just a great piece of sports paraphernalia. It's something that's going to grow in value over time when he wins a Super Bowl.
Oh, boy.
And it's not really just about the player that is represented
Wait,
here.
is this a signed football? Like I have my Jim Kelly signed football?
No, it is not a signed football. It's not just about the player who is pretty much everything that we love in sports. He's an underdog who came out of nowhere, lost his job in college,
Brock
got
Purdy?
drafted in the second round.
No.
Almost won the MVP, but hurt his shoulder last year.
Jimmy Garoppolo?
No.
It was Carson Wentz's back.
But it's not really about the player. It's more about the color. The color represents spring. It represents hope. It is the most beautiful color we've ever seen on an NFL jersey. Yes, Sully sent us a Kelly Green Jalen Hurts jersey.
Wow.
Is that Kelly Green?
It's funny.
Actually,
It
that
says
looks green.
Hulu has live sports on it now.
Here we go. Yeah, actually, I don't know. Is that the Kelly Green?
Yeah.
He said it.
Yeah,
It
that's
definitely
it.
is.
Kelly.
It's
So
got
this
the
is a
old school logo on it.
a Hurts jersey from our buddy Sully. Now, I'll wear it today, and then I think we frame it. So you're going to have Freddie Jackson, big game Fred Jackson on your side,
Yeah.
and we'll have Jalen Hurts. And if Jordan Love was any better, I will buy the Jordan Love jersey, and I'll have Love Hurts next to each other, just because I think that's a funny dad pun. But this is a beautiful gift from Sully.
Wow. Sully, you've outdone yourself with the Kelly Green. Nice job.
So I'm going to wear it today. I'm wearing a sort of formal collar, so I'm going to look like a complete nerd.
Yeah.
But this is a really, really gorgeous thing. There is a backstory. I'm going to have Sully call in when he's actually awake to explain the backstory of how he landed with this Jalen Hurts jersey. It's kind of funny.
He didn't just order it like everyone else, or did this
He
fall
sure
off the back
didn't.
of the truck?
He sure didn't.
Okay. So that's Sully old
Sully
days.
loves you. Sully has mixed feelings towards me. He's not buying me a Jalen Hurts jersey. This came into Sully's possession, and now is at our possession. I think it's really good looking.
I love that we can all handle and wear that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Can I wear it
Super
on
excited.
Halloween? I've got a really big party to go to. It's going to be a lot of drinking. It's going to be a lot of, sloppy people.
Can I wear it?
Yeah, people be like, "You're dressed up as a winner today, Maggie."
Yeah, sure.
How's this look? I got the formal collar underneath a football jersey.
Looks a little
with a
big.
sweater underneath. Yeah, it's huge. That's one of the other reasons Sully sent it my way.
Yeah, I was going to say, who was this meant for? Like Travis Kelce?
We're not sure. There's definitely a weird backstory behind this jersey. It has mysterious origins.
It definitely was not meant for you, but you've got it now. So it's funny
Fell
because
off the back of a truck.
that's the third layer you're wearing. So that should be snug. You've got a collared shirt and a sweater, and now you got a jersey over it, and you still are swimming in this thing.
Yeah, well, if it was a large and it fits Sully, it would not be in our possession right now.
Yeah,
Let's
no,
put it that
Sully
way.
would be wearing it.
And I quote,
Yeah.
"This thing doesn't fit me at all. Do you want it?" I'm like, "Heck yeah, we'll put a frame around it. We'll hang it in the man cave." It's not a man cave anymore. We call it man cave at DP
Yeah,
Show.
our
So I'm just looking. The problem is
gender neutral cave.
It's a
Just
lot bigger
cave.
than your Fred Jackson jersey. So it's kind of dominate the studio.
I know. I actually used to wear that jersey. It's like a kid's medium. Well, the question is, we have Phil's Randall Cunningham jersey that's hanging in the office. That's also Kelly Green, old school. We told him that we would get it signed.
I know.
We've never run into Randall Cunningham since.
But
Don't you want to get that signed before you put it under glass? The Jalen Hurts jersey?
Well, I guess so. It's going to be hard to do that. I want to hang up the Phil jersey too, but we have to send that back to him. Sully does not want this back. He's a Patriots fan for
Was it
one
ever
thing.
specifically stated who was signing the Randall Cunningham jersey?
It can't be you, Pete. All the best, Pete Pilati.
Mr. Philly doesn't have an Eagles connection that you could just send that jersey to.
Oh, actually, I do.
Jalen will sign it and send it back to you?
I definitely do.
All right, there you go.
I don't know. I'm actually kind of holding out for tickets. I don't want to use the favor.
Oh, so you
on
want it
this.
for you, not for other.
Yeah, so it's really not for the show.
Well, I don't. Fred Jackson's not signed. Is it that hard to track down Fred Jackson?
Yeah, he's in Iowa somewhere. I have no idea where Fred Jackson is. I never even thought about getting it signed, and then all of a sudden it was just framed, and someone else framed it.
That's the other thing too. I'm like, wow, this is a huge jersey. This frame is going to cost a pretty penny.
Yeah. Well, good luck with all that. Really cool that Sully got that
Yay.
for you. That is awesome.
Why do you guys root against Philadelphia teams?
We don't.
We told you we're all behind the Phillies.
Yeah.
And you didn't want us to be on your bandwagon. You thought we were bringing Mad Mojo just because we said they're the greatest team of all time.
Yeah, Dabble Sweeney.
Yeah, you guys think you can get to me on the Phillies? You can't. You can't.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What?
No Philadelphia sports fan really cares how the Phillies do. This is
To be
house
fair, it's
money
probably
to play
the
with.
Diamondbacks who are going to get to the Phillies more than we would, but
Right.
I'm just saying, no. You guys are trying to bug me with this fake bandwagon thing that you think can jinx the Phillies, but Philadelphia sports fans are more savvy than this.
You don't understand. The Phillies are inevitable, just like Thanos. It's nothing we can do about it.
They're unjinxable.
I don't know
mean,
what Thanos means, but yes, EJ is correct.
They're unjinxable. They gave 2 games away just because they wanted to.
Yeah.
And now
because they're gentlemen.
Yeah, they're going to settle in. They're going to have a great crowd tonight. They're all going to be civil, and we're going to have a great win for the Phillies going to the World Series.
Okay. I don't know what kind of mind games you're playing, Bilotti, but I do know Craig Kimbrell cannot get through an inning, and that is a fact, and that is going to have to be dealt with.
The greatest closer
what are you
ever.
talking about? Yeah, it's like Mariano and then Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah, with his weird spider arms.
Yeah.
There you go.
That dude's that guy's amazing. All right, well, cool. Sully, nice. Way to pass on the goods.
Thanks,
Well, I
Sully.
think, guys, on that side, guys, can you look up the NFL standings? I was curious where the Eagles sit right now, too, as long as we're praising Philadelphia.
And you wonder why we don't want the Eagles jersey.
Sorry, wait. Who did the Eagles lose to in their only game this year?
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember. Was it the Commanders?
Oh, no. It's another team that wears green. Similar green to that, by the way.
Commanders don't win.
855-212-4CBS. Bogus is here with some headlines.
And we begin with those Phillies. As Pete just mentioned, they wanted to clinch their second straight NL pennant at home, so they dropped 2 of 3 on purpose in Arizona last week. Now they finish things off in Game 6 at 5 Eastern today. Manager Rob Thompson with a scouting report on one of the nation's best sporting venues.
As loud as I've ever heard it in a stadium. It's not just how loud it is, but how long it goes. It goes from first pitch to the last pitch, and they're standing up the entire game. It's just an incredible atmosphere, and I would suggest that people, if they've never been here before, to bring some earplugs because it gets pretty loud.
Arizona righty
Can't lose in front of that crowd.
It's so peaceful too. I mean, you could be the Diamondbacks fan and sit there and enjoy yourself.
Sure.
Merrill Kelly's expected to wilt again under that Philly pressure. Aaron Nola goes for the champs. Somebody wins the AL tonight in Houston. The Rangers forcing Game 7 with a thud last night.
Bases loaded, 1 gone in the 9th. Stanek swung 1. It is drilled on a line, left field, and gone! Adolis Garcia makes his statement, and the Rangers have their sights set on Game 7.
That's Joe Davis on Fox. Thoughts and prayers to him. Garcia's grand slam capping off a 5-run 9th after Houston left the bases loaded in the previous half inning. The 9-2 final means the road team is 6-0 in this series. The only previous 7-gamer where the home team never won was the 2019 World Series, which finished with the Nationals winning in Houston. Tonight's pitching matchup is Christian Javier and Max Scherzer.
Can we move this to Tuesday? I'm very disappointed. Game 7 is going to get lost because of Monday Night Football.
Only if you let it. Why?
Jim McCall.
It's just early. It's very early on the West Coast. I feel like this is not ideal. They should MLB. You guys disagree with me, but I think you're all with me now. The fact that MLB is on all different kinds of channels throughout the playoffs, they got to be like the NFL and make it appointment viewing. I think they're screwing this up.
Okay, so you said that before, and I thought about it. Everybody is on multiple networks.
Yeah.
When the NBA playoffs start, am I going to ESPN? Am I going to ABC? Am I going to TNT? Maybe there's an NBA TV game. This is not an MLB exclusive problem. And right now it's locked in. It's either Fox or TBS. Done.
Okay, that's great, but doesn't help me when I'm watching a Spider-Man for the 8th time because I was looking for the game on TBS and I couldn't remember if it was TNT or TBS.
That's your fault.
They can't do like these are the if necessary games. They can't just be like, well, we're going to blanket not have them on a Monday because we don't want to go up against Monday Night Football.
Well, why is
you got to just play the games because the World Series is already set. It's on a schedule.
Well, I'm just telling you the reality. You think this is going to get a high rating? I mean, they're
fine.
screwed.
It is what it is. They're always going to be screwed.
They're never going to beat the NFL. And
well, maybe avoid the NFL then. Like a lot of other sports avoid the NFL.
Play through the winter. I don't know. What does that mean?
Play on Tuesday. I don't know. Take an extra day. There's no rules about what they have to do.
No, we're already complaining about layoffs before the wild card round. Now we're going to have to throw extra days of rest in because we don't want to play against a football game.
You're just arguing for the sake of arguing. You don't think this is disappointing to have a Game 7 at Monday at 5 o'clock
Eastern? No, because
Eastern?
I'm going to put that game on my main TV. And it's 2023.
So
I'm going to put the other game, the football game, on my iPad, and I'll be fine.
I know, but we can't complain about the game starting too late and then also complain about them starting too early. Like, we're now just complaining. Yeah.
But on Perloff's point, I mean, I do feel like if you think of Game 7s in major pro sports, just nobody's thinking that's a game I'm going to see on a Monday at 5 p.m.
Oh, sorry. It's a
first of all, the game's
at 8. My bad.
Yes.
Yeah. The game's a later game.
5. Pacific.
Philly's game is 5.
But
the ALCS game is at 8.
I mean, it's not even a great Monday Night Football matchup, but you know the Monday Night Football games are going to get more eyes. We got Aaron Rodgers on the Manning cast. That's going to get a lot of eyes
But
tonight.
that's my point. There is no way to solve it. I understand the problem, but there's no way to fix it. So why do we keep having? It's the same thing with hockey.
How can you say there's no way to solve this? Play on a Tuesday. That feels solved.
But it doesn't matter because what if it was a sweep? Then you would have never run into this at all. Or you shouldn't play. You should totally take out Sundays because the NFL's on Sunday. Or Saturdays because college football's on Saturday. You're going to run into conflicts every night.
Definitely take out Sunday. For sure, take out Sunday. That's the first thing I do.
Just play at 8 a.m. in the morning. That'll be fun.
That'd be good for us.
Why can't you take out? I mean, there's no rules around this. Figure out the ways to schedule it in advance and make sure that you don't go against the NFL.
There are no rules except for the fact that if you're not changing venues, you play on consecutive days. Like there's no reason to give anybody the benefit of the day off to reset, use a different starting pitcher because we're trying to avoid football. You're gonna lose the football tonight. People that want to watch Game 7 are going to watch Game 7, and so be it.
Fine, just dwindle away like baseball. They have this opportunity for a gigantic game and a huge rating and a lot of intrigue, and they're completely giving it away to the Vikings and the Niners.
Don't worry, Max Scherzer's pitching anyway. He'll be over the first game.
Fingers crossed.
Oh man, see that's the thing though. I think that unfortunately for baseball, and they're doing everything they can to get back into this with the rule changes and stuff like that. But this war against, they've lost this to the NFL already. Everybody has. And so even if they were all by themselves, you know what the story would be? They were on a Tuesday all by themselves. They'd be like, wow, can you believe that Game 7 only drew 9 million people? That's, double.
That'd be twice what they're going to get tonight.
No, but it's like, but the Titans against the Jaguars, tripled that. Like, they're never going to get a positive headline when it comes to ratings.
And it's their own fault. MLB has screwed this up for years. There's so many simple things they can do that they just don't do.
Well, you could say that about all the leagues, though, right? I mean, the NBA could avoid
it's funny. Do you think NBA is starting their season on a Monday night? No, they're putting the Lakers on Tuesday night because they know the TV is wide open.
No, but if they really wanted to, they could have just avoid the NBA. They could avoid the NFL almost altogether if you just start your season on Christmas Day. Then you're only going head-to-head for 6 weeks.
That's a little radical. They're going to cut 12 games out of their season?
No, just go later into the summer.
Oh, well, there's no way you can't rate in July and August, though.
I don't know. That's basically late June. What's the difference?
I feel like those bubble games did really well.
Yeah.
And that was way late.
Crazy circumstances.
Yeah, because everybody was home.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's true.
Did they do really well? I thought they did not do well. You double check that. I could be wrong. I didn't think that everybody was watching that series, were they?
I know that Rangers-Astros actually has done better than people thought it was going to do.
Been a great series.
But ratings-wise, it's done better than people thought, being 2 Texas teams, a nondescript Rangers team. They've had some good ratings for this round. Tonight's unavoidable because tomorrow could be a Game 7 for Phillies Diamondbacks, and you're gonna have back-to-back Game 7s at 5 and 8 and a random day off. You just have to kind of be in your own lane. Now, yesterday I thought they should have started that game earlier, like 7:30 even, just give me more of a head start before the Sunday night game. But they went head-to-head. I think that's a fair complaint. Why not go right at 7:30? Give me 45 minutes of baseball before this football. But tonight, I don't know what the solution is. They can't just keep twisting and turning and throwing days in there to get away from the NBA, from the NFL.
Be hard.
It's always going to be there.
Well, does the World Series schedule preset? Do you guys know?
Yeah, it's already out.
And I'm sure they avoid, for that, they're got to be avoiding Monday Night Football. I would imagine.
My guess is
for Game 7 of the World Series, they're not going to put that against the NFL.
It starts on a Friday. So Friday, Saturday, then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday.
So
one Monday game.
So Monday, it would be Saturday would be a Game 7.
U.S. Open, by the way, is the one sport that should avoid the NFL. They should not have their final on Sundays. I feel like that always gets buried. Don't you guys? I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about.
But I think the Monday one didn't do well either. They moved the men's final to Monday, and it didn't work because it was Monday at 4:00, and then it was usually 2 NFL games on that Monday too for a while. That didn't play either. Speaking of football, with 17-3 Eagles, then the Dolphins tied the game, then the Eagles won at 31-17 on Sunday Night Football. Jalen Hurts accounting for 3 scores. His team's now 6-1.
Really just excited that we won the game. He's having a great year. We have a great team, and as far as me enjoying the moment with my guys, I think that was a big win for us.
Hurts finished the game with his left knee in a brace, but downplayed the issue post-game. The Dolphins, meanwhile, now 0-2 against good teams. This loss and that beatdown from the Bills. Their 5 wins against teams that combined 8-25 record. After setting the single-season points record last season, the Bruins have begun this NHL season 5-0 after a 3-1 win in Anaheim. And some soccer postseason last night. New York, New Jersey, Gotham FC upsetting the North Carolina Courage 2-0 to reach the NWSL semifinals. Up next, the Portland Thorns. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you so much. Coming up, we've got a lot more to do, including the one soundbite you have not heard, but you must. Do that next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. It is Maggie and Perloff right here on CBS Sports Radio. Amidst all the other big outcomes that happened both Saturday and yesterday, Perloff, like the Lions just getting destroyed by the Ravens, your Eagles beating the Miami Dolphins, my Bills losing to the Patriots, and on, Penn State losing, Alabama nearly losing, coming back big in the second half. The Commanders-Giants game is going to get lost here because
as it should.
The game was 14-7, and these are two also-ran teams. However, Jonathan Allen's quote after the game should not get lost. This is Jonathan Allen of the Commanders, obviously standout defensive lineman, on what it's been like to play for the Washington Commanders these last few years.
They whooped our ass, plain and simple. Got to be better.
Anything they did that surprised you guys early on?
No, I want to say so. I think it's just a lack of focus on our part, a lack of attention to detail, not starting fast, and creating holes that are too big for us to overcome in the second half.
Does it get frustrating when that?
Yes, it does. I'm tired of this. Tired of this. It's been 7 years of the same. Tired of this.
What can you do now going forward to get it turned around?
Get our minds right and get ready to play Philadelphia.
Oh boy!
With another bleep, just. Bleeping Philadelphia.
Ooh, he'll probably beat the Eagles, by the way, but whatever.
I mean, kudos, EJ. You caught every one of those bleeps. That's high-level editing right there. But on the flip side, you get the sense that, do you guys ever have like friends like this where, all right, they'll be cool, and they'll be cool, and they'll be cool, and then all of a sudden something happens, and the switch just turns, and all of a sudden they're getting like dragged out of the bar?
Yeah. I've actually been that person at times, but yes.
Or just like a little thing sets them off. Like they'll let a lot of big things slide, and then one little thing sets them off, and it's like, and now you are like fighting a group of teenagers.
Absolutely. Jonathan Allen seemed like he was sitting on that. I mean, listen, him snapping is no surprise. Remember he took a swing at Daron Payne, the biggest man in the NFL? He's obviously a super, super hothead. I think there's been 4 or 5 incidents, and that's why he's awesome at football. I love this. If I'm a Washington fan, this is the first piece of good news I've gotten in forever.
Someone has a pulse?
Someone has my star defensive player who's a killer has a pulse. That's great. That's exactly what they need. Give me 11 Jonathan Allens.
I don't know if it's gonna matter.
Maybe not 11. Give me 10 Jonathan Allens at a cornerback who can cover.
Let's get to our shot of the day.
He shoots!
And the shot of the day is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. People like me. Let's get to our snapshot of the show. Man, when our pal Jay in Nashville calls in, you never know what you're going to get. This morning, we got this.
Man, I'm just out here trying to get my hands on a McGriddle, and he's got police out here with AR-15s drawn at a hotel. Like, they gone now, but we couldn't even get into McDonald's. Like, dude, it's too early in the morning for this. What the hell is going on?
Did you get the McGriddle?
Yeah.
It's my favorite breakfast food in the world.
I got the McGriddle, but I mean, even the cop was sitting there talking about, I'm like, what's going on? They're like, well, somebody got shot at that hotel over there. I stay in Franklin, Tennessee. Like, I stay down the street from the Lamborghini dealership. All right.
Yeah.
And like, so it's not like it's the hood or whatever.
I'm looking up. I'm trying to find what's going on here online, and I can't find anything. So
Franklin is gorgeous.
Yet to hit the internet.
Totally surprising place. I had the best brunch of my life in Franklin. You could put on a lot of pounds hanging out in that area.
Well, if you're trying to get a McGriddle, good luck.
Yeah, at what point do you just abort mission on the McGriddle search?
Never.
The first cop you see.
Yeah, the first AR-15 I think is the one that does for me.
Yeah, I think I'm just, you know what? Maybe I'll just skip breakfast. Maybe I'll just have lunch today. I don't need to be involved in that.
Did you hear the way Jay was talking about that McGriddle? You could hear the love in his voice and the passion and the addiction. You pour the syrup on it. I totally get it. You pour the syrup on top of it, the sausage and the pancakes.
Listen,
yes.
I know what it's like also to have like a little bit of a food addiction. What I mean by that is I got into a bad habit where I was eating like a box of Sour Patch Kids a show. That was when we were on in the afternoon. And I had to break myself of this habit because it was getting pretty legit. Mm-hmm. I have not had a piece of candy since New Year's.
There you go. Congratulations.
And what's coming up next week?
Yeah, that's the end of the road for that.
Halloween. And I got a 4-year-old, and I don't want him eating all the candy. This is like me at the end facing like Mike Tyson and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, or like Donkey Kong at the end of Mario. Like, this is going to be my biggest test yet. I've not yet gone through a Halloween without eating candy.
Do you get mad when you see athletes who famously eat lots of candy before a game? I know Ben Simmons does that.
No, it's like Marshawn Lynch. Yeah, I'm not doing nearly their workouts.
So, DK Metcalf, who's shredded. He eats nothing but candy. Yeah, I mean, you're in great shape. But
it was
even when you were
bad
eating them,
for me.
It didn't really, I couldn't tell. I mean, you were jittery, and if you didn't get your fix at 4 o'clock, it was trouble to be around you.
Heads.
Yeah, you were like Jonathan Allen.
Open the show with just a bunch of curse words right up together.
Had to beat Maggie out. She's like, "Get my bleeping Swedish fish."
I know. I had a real issue, and I've kicked the habit, but now this is going to be a tough test for me.
Did you replace it with another form of sugar?
Sex. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I replaced.
Whoa.
No, I'm just trying to eat healthy.
I don't know. I bet you got in like some form of like yogurt that you think is healthy. I see the way you eat. You still get some sugar in there, man.
Oh, that's true. Thank you to EJ Stewart. Thank you to Pete Pilati. Thank you to Andrew Kaplan, to Andrew Bogish, the Weedos and the Coffee Drinkers, the callers. You guys are awesome. We'll be back tomorrow.
What are we going to do about these strippers?
You're in a 5-minute break.